What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 71. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the future class of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
What's up, Greg?
Here's a question I have for you, Bless, all right?
Oh.
Because as I know, you're one of these young bucks, one of these young kids.
Yeah.
You have figured things out I haven't figured out.
I'm turning 27 this year, by the way.
Barrett on the ones and twos has figured things out I haven't in my life. Of course, listen to the Kind of Funny Next Gen podcast, available only on patreon.com/kindoffunny and Kind of Funny Games. Here's the thing I ran into, all right, is it possible, and I mean with your hands, we can get into all the different, permutations after this, to eat Cheetos without getting filthy Cheeto fingers. How feather of a touch do you need to have on these things? So I just had some with my lunch, delicious lunch. But the problem was it had the caked fingers. I had to go, scrub underneath. And I know Gia Tap Harris is a big fan of the chopsticks with the bag rolled down.
Yes,
I know those moves, but I was already eating a sandwich. So I was like, just dump it all on the plate. Let me shove this in my face.
I always do the pour. I always pour Cheetos in my mouth because usually when I'm eating
chaotic
Cheetos,
though. That's absolutely chaotic.
It's very chaotic. That's the thing is I'm usually the situation is I'm playing video games when I'm eating Cheetos or eating snacks or something, and I don't want to. If you get the Cheeto fingers, you're then eventually going to get Cheeto controllers, and that's the last thing I want.
Then you get Cheeto ants. You know what I mean?
And then you get Cheeto ants. Yeah, especially with my white, beautiful DualSense, I don't want it to get stained with Cheeto stains, and so I go for the pour, but then that gets chaotic because you're then also getting crumbs falling onto you, and that's the last thing you want, especially depending on the type of Cheetos you're eating. Because
and this is the big thing is, as somebody who's been talking on the podcast about eating out of cups for a long time, I like my cereal dry, right? So I like to have the cup and shake it into my mouth that way. You know what I mean? Shake the Fruity Pebbles in, shake the Frosted Mini Wheats. But the thing is that I usually used to use when I do this back in Colombia in my early days, these Shakespeare's cups, which were those like plastic cups that you could carry out. So you could push them in and make them into a better you. Now I don't have any because I haven't been to Colombia in so long. So I'm using like coffee cups where you can't change the rim. So you're talking about it being chaotic. You're having things falling all over the place, the Cheetos going rogue, cereal going rogue.
That's the fucked up thing about Cheetos specifically is that they come in weird shapes. And so if you're eating, if it's Cheetos Puffs, it becomes such like all right, how do I maneuver this thing into my mouth? Because it just doesn't naturally go in there. Like you have to have smaller, like you have to have like Cheetos, not puffs. You have to have like Cheetos balls or something like that.
Sure,
like
cheese balls.
Cheese
Courtney, you keep saying "oh God" and trying to get a word in edgewise. What's happening?
I mean, I'm just reacting to how you guys decide to eat things. It's very I can't wrap my head.
Barrett, Alyssa comes home. She's like, "You're starving." She's like, "I bought some delicious Cheetos. How are you engaging with these Cheetos?"
Chopsticks. Chopsticks was the pro maneuver that Alyssa grew up with as well because the Hawaii kids, and just like having all these snacks but not wanting to dirty their hands and stuff like that. So chopsticks has been the pro maneuver ever since I've known Alyssa. So that's the way to do it. I know even if you're dumping them on the plate with your sandwich, just bring out a pair of chopsticks, man.
I just want to point out, right, Barrett's like, I don't know, man. You guys have really chaotic ways of eating snacks and eating Cheetos. Barrett, how do you eat Cheetos? Chopsticks. Like that's normal.
I mean,
like that's the thing that everybody does.
No, that it's not like the normal way to do it, but it's not chaotic like you guys are fucking doing it. Okay. All right.
Now, Joshy G in the chat live on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames says, "Do the Homer Simpson and grab the popcorn with your tongue." Another move I'm well versed in with a giant thing of popcorn.
That's disgusting.
And it works with a thing of Cheetos. Well, I mean, not if you're sharing with somebody, Blessing. You're just all alone, though. You know what I mean?
Of course, but like that's never a given, unless like you know for sure you're not going to share this with somebody. But
you bring a bowl of popcorn into your room right now to sit down and do a watch along stream with Nick Scarpino. You're afraid Michael's going to come in and ask on this popcorn?
If I get a big bag, usually I'm eating that bag over the course of multiple days, usually 2 at max. But like if I'm eating that bag over the course of multiple sittings,
sure,
you never know what's going to happen.
See, but right there, I think we've already done a thing where you see the question split. Where for me, if I'm eating popcorn, it's popcorn I just popped in the microwave. It's coming. I'm dumping in the bowl. It's hot. You know what I mean? I'm not. That's a one-time thing. I'm not getting the bag of smart food popcorn or whatever.
Is it the thing of Jen's never going to come through, or Jen just doesn't mind if you're?
I wouldn't. Yeah, no. Actually, I guess I have done it in front of her. But if I'm doing, here's my whole thing with the tongue and the Homer Simpson method we're talking about. This only works when you have the mountain, when you have the what am I thinking of here? Or the heaping spoonful, right? When you have the heaping bowl full of something. Because once you get down to that ledge, like think about it. If I even had the coffee cup full of Cheetos, full of cereal, whatever, like sure, I'm getting the top ones that way. But when I need to get down to the bottom,
my tongue you can't do that with a Pringles can.
No, exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless you got one of them legendary tongues.
Yeah, exactly. Then you got no problems in your life. Don't worry about that. If you got a tongue that's getting down to the bottom of the Pringles can, you're making $1 million a year on Ripley's Believe It or Not. Let alone being a very satisfying lover. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, David Mertz on the live chat says plate, Greg. See, I think that's weird. If I had a plate full of popcorn and I'm like I'm the fly or something over here.
That also doesn't fix the I guess to bring it back to the original question, the issue here is that you're trying not to get Cheeto fingers.
Right.
And we made it way far out where I don't think the plate is the answer to
the plate's not. I mean, it's
the original question.
There's so many things we're talking about here, and it all comes back to your level of self-respect. Because obviously, what we all do behind closed doors is what we do behind closed doors. But it is that idea of if I had this sandwich and then I had the Cheetos on a plate. Because I had the sandwich and then I had the Cheetos in a bowl because I didn't want them all over the plate. A little bowl, like a little side bowl.
Yeah. And so then you poured out the Cheetos. Like, was this a big bag of Cheetos that you poured out?
I have the big bag of Cheetos that we then put into the seal Tupperware kind of container. Yeah, you know what I mean? But anyways, if I had them loose on the plate, I guess, you could see but then again, it's that thing of like, granted, it's just me and Portillo in the kitchen. But it's me sitting there going, like on this plate while I'm looking at Slack, being like, I got to help cool Greg with this, but I'm also eating what Cheetos are good to the last drop. I gotta sit here and eat them like an anteater. Like, what's going on?
I think if they're poured onto the plate, I don't think there is a solution aside from chopsticks. Unless you're gonna go the chopsticks route. I think that might be the only solution at that point if you don't want to get the Cheetos.
And so like we close this up and eventually talk about PlayStation. Here's the real thing you want to give Cheetos a pat on the back for is that they have never tried to solve this. They have embraced this, and it has never gotten in the way of their popularity. Cheeto's still incredibly popular.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I think it's a marketing beat for them. Like I think that's if I remember correctly, there have been commercials, right, where they're celebrating the Cheetos fingers.
Oh, yeah, where they you get caught
because it's like a surprise at the end.
Fingered.
Yeah,
it's a surprise at the end.
Yeah, like when you
as a kid, I do remember doing the thing where you like scrape the Cheetos dust off.
Yeah, exactly, and it was the best. I don't do that anymore as an adult because I'm aware of germs.
We're adults. Yeah,
and I think it's disgusting, but. Like that is a surprise though. That is something that's going to sell more Cheetos than hinder people from buying Cheetos. The fact that you get that nice surprise with the licking the fingers and scraping the fingers and the Cheeto fingers. It's great. Cheeto fingers. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, that's what Nick calls himself. That's what Nick calls himself when he plays games. I don't know if he still does that. Yeah,
I haven't heard that in a minute.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a minute. I don't know what the deal is with that. He's live over there. I could go check. Hold on, I'm gonna break the thing and be right back. All right, hold on.
Oh gosh.
All right, Greg is gone. Barrett, it's now our time. We can now take over.
Yeah, we could finally take over this dying company.
So you don't like Cheeto fingers?
No. I hate it.
Yeah, no, he still does it. He still refers to himself as Cheeto fingers, it turns out.
Okay.
If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is enough about Cheetos fingers. We're going to talk about PlayStation because this is PS I Love You. Each and every week, Blessing and I come together to nerd out about all things PlayStation. You like that? So you head over to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where, of course, you can support all of our shows, but most importantly for PS I Love You XOXO, you can write in to be part of the show. You can get the show ad-free. You can get it with the exclusive post-show we do. You can be watching it live like Madeline Stanley, Joey D, and Adam Outspokens. However, if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. Of course, you can go to youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week to get a brand spanking new episode. Of course, if you don't get it on Patreon, guess what? You got ads. You don't get the post show, but you still get a really good time. Right, Porty? Right. Now, Porty's going to go on the ground because he's being a baby now. Doesn't want to be in my lap anymore. Also, dog peed on both of his beds, so where are you going to go? Where are you going to lay down now,
Two
Porty?
beds?
Enjoy the floor.
Porty's living like a king.
That's why we call him
that or a geriatric dog on his way out. We're not sure yet. Keep you posted on that one, on what Porty's up to. Let's give you some housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you can catch Blessing's drunk ass finishing Resident Evil 7 as a Let's Play edit over that Roger did on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Of course, Blessing, you've been playing Resident Evil 7 with Andy. You guys were having a great time, and Roger's been doing highlight streams of it. This last one, it boils down, I forget how many hours of gameplay to 20 minutes, and you made the decision to chug a glass of Jack Daniels.
I was already 2 glasses in, and so like, yeah, I didn't have good judgment in the moment, and I had Kevin egging me on, and I drank a whole glass of whiskey in the span of about 2 seconds, and it made for a bombastic playthrough. So go check it out because it is
proof to never listen to Kevin.
More proof to never listen to Kevin, and also like it is the best content of the Resident Evil 7 stream. And people really like the first few chapters of it, and so if you like those, you're gonna love the last one.
Alcohol makes it better, as they say. And I was proud of you too, because I watched the recap, because obviously I believe the reason you started drinking so hard was that me and Tim had finished that Emily's Away Let's Play. This was the giant stream, so we were drunk when we signed off, so I was too drunk to watch you at the time. So watching it again, I was like, I'm glad this is the Kind of Funny legacy. Insightful video game commentary mashed up with just getting wasted and not being able to find yourself around the Resident Evil map where you have to beg your friends for help.
I'll find any excuse you can give me in this company to get drunk. I'll find it, especially after the last year of working from home and not being able to go out, go to bars. Or
think about when we get into the new studio, in which, by the way, we see the subreddit threads every so often, is a ways away still. We're not going to surprise you with the studio anytime soon. But think about when we get back there and how dangerous it's going to be to have that kegerator again, Barrett, to have just hard alcohol sitting there.
Baby, I miss getting drunk with you guys on like a Tuesday afternoon.
Me too. Yeah.
Just do it.
Be able to knock off early, just play some Knockout City, have a beer,
baby.
Get Blessing a cider.
Yeah.
That sounds so great.
One day we'll get back to it. For now, though, let's talk about Friday. Friday, we're actually playing the developers of Knockout City on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames in Knockout City. If we win, we get the Kind of Funny logo into Knockout City. If we lose, they are still picking what will happen to us, and I don't think any of it will be good. Ladies and gentlemen, you can check it out at twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames on Friday. If you miss it there, of course, you can go to the newest YouTube channel, youtube.com/kindafunnyplays, and see what the recap or the archive of all of it is over there. And a very special one, of course, Blessing, you're wearing your Andrea Strong shirt today. A shout out to the one and only busiest lady in the business, Andrea Renee, who, of course, is pregnant, but on top of that, is back in the hospital. So everybody, if you have good vibes to send her way, send her way. Of course, Andrea Renee, available everywhere social media is, and What's Good Games and all that. But our thoughts are with Andrea, of course. You should also be like our Patreon producers, Omega Buster, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, James Hastings, and Casey Andrew. Elliot and Tom Bach are also Patreon producers. But let's keep going. We have sponsors. They're going to be ExpressVPN, Credit Karma Money, and Dr. Squatch. But I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with topic of the show. So, Blessing and Barrett. Right now, we're in the eye of the storm. You know, when you're in a hurricane, there's so much stuff going on, then you get to the eye of the storm and it's eerily quiet.
There's just a moment, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I see what you're doing there. Yeah, all right, little Hamilton. We're in the hurricane that is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart right now, where every PlayStation gamer wants it. We are so close you can almost taste it, but after giving us so much news in that giant preview event, now you're in that quiet period before the game actually gets here, and I'm sure previews, reviews, whatever, start dropping. So this is the time for us to look into ourselves, be introspective. Obviously, there's a bunch of PlayStation news we'll talk about in PlayStation updates as always. But more importantly for right now, I wanted to take a beat and a breath. As both you, Blessing, and Barrett remind me all the time, I am old. I've been doing this a long time, 14 years covering PlayStation, right?
Oh, wow.
And one of the things I think we don't do, and I mean us as the press and the podcast, and even Kind of Funny to an extent, right, is actually stop and think about what the future holds. And so I've been kicking this around for a while of, oh man, like you look back and you think about PlayStation 3. You look back, you think about PlayStation 4, even that's more recent, right? But when we did at the start of PS I Love You XOXO Volume 2, we started playing Peace Walker, which meant I busted out that PS3. And to go back into that PS3 and go through this archaic menu, and then on top of that, remember that not even all the quality of life improvements that are there for the PS3, they weren't even there when the PS3 launched. It really got my mind and gears turning about where we are with the PlayStation 5 and where we're going with the PlayStation 5. And if I needed that point driven home even more, Of course, Drinkbox Studios put up a TikTok the other day I want to show you. Of course, there's like a million caveats on this, of course. Drinkbox Studio, friend of the show. Obviously, I've been covering their games since they won the PlayStation Pub Fund way back in the day to make their first PlayStation game. On top of that, they're going to be promoting their game here that isn't even coming to PlayStation, which is super upsetting. We don't need to talk about it right now. Nobody Save the World looks great. I have it in the Gamescast League. Don't worry about it. But on top of that, even this is a game represented by Pop Agenda for PR, which is my wife's company, of course. But I assure you, none of that plays into why we're using this. This is just a funny TikTok we're jumping off of. Yes. Barrett, can you show everyone?
Year. What does 13 years in video game development look like? I don't work there, by the way. Releasing your first game with PlayStation Home rewards. Releasing a launch title for the PlayStation Vita. Figuring out how to use the PS Vita as a second screen on the PlayStation 3 for Guacamelee. That's just a bit of what 13 years of making cool video games look like. But if you haven't yet, why don't you check out Nobody Saves the World, huh?
Don't worry about Nobody Saves the World.
Drinkbox Studios is...
Don't worry about the Nobody Saves the World stuff, right? It's not coming to PlayStation. They're dead to us. We don't need to worry about it. You know what I mean?
I'm very excited to play that on PC.
First off, I'm very excited to play on Xbox, but I'm saying for the purposes of this show, they're dead to us. All right, they had their chance. The PlayStation gave them a leg up, helped them out, start it, and what happens? Phil Spencer comes by with a giant check, and that's what happens. You know what I mean?
Anything,
now the game goes there.
Drinkbox gave more to PlayStation probably. They put a game on the Vita.
Great point. And so that's where I want to jump off. What I want to do right now, blessing Adeoye Jr., Barrett Courtney, and all of you watching live on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, is build the PlayStation 5 Time Capsule. Mm-hmm. My idea is that we will use this episode to talk about what the next 7 years will look like. So that on May 25th, 2028, everybody break out your Google calendars, your iCalendars, your iClouds, your Amazon Echoes, whatever you want it to be, and set a calendar reminder for May 25th, 2028. That will be 7 years from the day this publishes for everybody over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. And it will be basically the life cycle of the PlayStation 4, right? 7 years. And I mean, we're playing fast and loose in a way. Obviously, PS5 has been out for a little bit. But I wanted to do this where we could answer a bunch of questions right now, seal this episode, put it into the internet, and then 7 years dig it up and see how it shakes out. Because to the video we just watched, right, of like, what you're talking about being a developer that long, and George calls out, right? PlayStation Home rewards in their PS3 game. The Vita being a second screen experience that's just the map. All of these cool ideas that really you wouldn't even think about now. When we talk about Guacamelee, when we talk about Tales from Space, are we talking about any of these bells and whistles? No. So I think there's the miniature stuff we could do in terms of the minute details about PlayStation 5, but then there's bigger leading questions and all that other stuff. Blessing, are you ready? Do you understand the concept of the PlayStation 5 Time Capsule?
Yes, I do need to set an alert. What was the year again? 2028?
Yeah, May 25th, 2028. I'm putting it into. That's a good call, actually.
Alexa, set a reminder for May 25th, 2028, PlayStation Time Capsule.
I'm sure he'll have the same Alexa 7 years from now.
I don't think Amazon's going away anytime soon. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, man. And this I get a lot of usage out of this thing. Right. It turns my lights on and off.
Sure.
It plays spot. Alexa, that's enough. You might be right.
I'm just saying, like
that thing is might go out the window
to a different system.
God, it talks so much.
Hold on, I'm almost there. I didn't. There's probably an easier way to do it, but on Google Calendar, I clicked all the way to May 2028, month by month. So here we are, 25th, PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Time Capsule. PS I Love You anniversary. EP 71, because if I don't give enough information, I'll be dead, of course. But you'll get there and you won't understand what this was. Like, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be like hashtag PS I Hate Photo Mode, where I still don't know what the context.
Yeah, we now and look at it. That was like how many? Come on, what are you gonna sit with me now? What did you do? Were you bad over here? Did you do anything bad? Huh?
Oh, party.
He's in a mood today. Yeah, all right, he is in a mood, and it is just grump. That is the mood. All right, so it is officially on the calendar for Thursday, May 25th, 2028. As of right now, I'm hosting Kind of Funny Games Daily with Tim, and Mike and Blessing are doing the Twitch stream, but we'll see if that holds. No real way to know yet.
7 years.
And I'm sure Andy's going to be busy that day.
Of course. Yeah, I put him down as a strong maybe. So, Blessing, I've listed a bunch of questions in here. You went in and listed a bunch of questions for our time capsule. So this is predictions, this is hopes, this is dreams, this is fears. Of course, I reached out on Twitter and I said, hey, everybody, as usual, it's an hour until we're doing the show. This is the topic of the show. Everybody wrote into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames with their questions, thoughts, concerns, hopes. And I think we have something here. Are you ready, Blessing Adeoye Jr.?
I am ready.
What's the biggest PlayStation question that'll be answered by 2028 from where we are right now? Obviously, we only know what we're talking about. We don't know what's going to happen with the machines, these Boston Dynamic robots. But right now, if you're talking to the future class of video games yourself, what do you want to know about what's happening with the PlayStation in 2028?
I mean, what's the biggest question for PlayStation Now? Like, I feel like
PlayStation Now.
PlayStation Now.
I did do a wait. What are we talking about? PlayStation current or PlayStation?
No, yeah, like PlayStation currently. Like, I feel like when we talk about what are we wondering right now? I think it's more about like what does the exclusive slate look like for the next few years?
Sure.
But I don't think there are any big question. Like, I feel like we've gotten a lot of answers in terms of like the franchises we've been looking for. I guess like, is there a Last of Us Part 3? I guess that's a question. What is Naughty Dog's new IP?
I'm thinking,
you know what? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that I talk this through, now I'm talking this out. I think
you're thinking small potatoes.
Yeah, I'm thinking
mine is
definitely
mine is definitely what happened with Game Pass.
Oh,
did Game Pass make waves enough that PlayStation had to respond? Because that's the big. We talk about this every week on the show. Mm-hmm. The fact that Xbox keeps lining up their dominoes, and if they can fire on all cylinders, if they can, they have so many bullets in the chamber, they could actually turn this thing around and dominate PlayStation this generation. But did it happen? Does Game Pass matter? Is my question to the PlayStation to 7 years from now. What is that? Are we going to get there and be like, roll our eyes, and be like, oh man, right, the Netflix of games, that exploded because of X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
My big question, and again, this is kind of thinking outside of the box of not specifically like their systems and stuff. What happened with Sean Layden? And like, will we finally?
That's your biggest question right now. That doesn't even have to be 7 years from now.
Well, it's just like one of those things where like I wonder if we'll know by then, kind of thing. Of like, that weird announcement where it was very like. It was just like that kind of weird announcement of him no longer being there and stuff like that.
Just a tweet one day out of the blue, a tweet of like, oh, by the way, he's gone.
And so, yeah, I wonder if we ever get that story. So that's another one that I got.
No, I like it. And like, so in line with what I'm talking about, does Game Pass matter in 2028, right? Did that rock the boat? Did that change the face of PlayStation that they had to fight in a different way? Patrick Sherwigert writes in and says, looking ahead for the next 7 years, do you think Sony ever creates a true competitor to Game Pass? If so, what does it look like? If not, why not? A lot of you wrote in with your concern being Game Pass as well.
I mean, they already have it. It's PS Now. They just have to...
Or the question Plus, is, as this show said.
The answer is true competitor, and I wouldn't say PS Now is necessarily a true competitor. Like it's a comparable service, but it's not as comparable when you look at the focus that Xbox gives something like Xbox Game Pass versus what PlayStation gives to PS Now, right? Like PS Now is a subscription service with streaming. And to my answer would probably be no. Because I come down to a place where do they need to? Is it worth having a subscription service when you do have such a focus on selling these big first party titles? And I think if PlayStation is forced to make a move, then it'll probably be in the form of what we've talked about, right? Redefining what PlayStation Plus looks like, giving benefits to that, maybe bundling PS Plus with PlayStation Now, and finding ways where you can provide free games that are something like Bugsnax or maybe in some world, right, like a Returnal. I think you might see games along those lines come out on something like PS Plus as opposed to all the big first party games. It's a good question though.
Yeah. So do you think Game Pass matters in 2018 or 2028? Do you think 7 years from now we're still talking about either Game Pass itself or the ramifications of Game Pass when it comes to PlayStation?
100%.
When it comes to PlayStation, no, but I think it will matter to Xbox in that audience. I think I think PlayStation will very much be on its own trajectory and doing its own thing in terms of like what it looks like compared to that.
I don't have the answer, obviously, because this whole episode is prognostications and predictions and stuff like that. I can't imagine 7 years from now, Xbox Game Pass not have changing PlayStation, not have had. Yeah. I can't imagine Xbox Game Pass not having had some effect on PlayStation and its business model. And I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know if it's a race to, make PlayStation Now better, to make PlayStation Plus more attractive, to bring in more developers on that side, or if it's just streaming related or whatever. But like, it just seems like Xbox has been on this wave with it xCloud with it, all this stuff that they've lined up, that if they can just hit with these first party titles, if they can just make, they have all these studios now, if Starfield and everything else comes out and actually is awesome and is available this way, and as we were just talking about last week, right, does offer enough benefits that, as we saw so many people write in, PlayStation fans write in saying that, they download it for this thing, they sign up for Game Pass for this one game. Does that change the face of it, and what does it look like? I have to imagine that for PlayStation as a company, for PlayStation 2028, Game Pass matters, but I don't know what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there will be some effect for sure. I think to my point, right? I'm thinking about like a Patrick's question of, do you think Sony ever creates a true competitor to Game Pass? Which I'm like, I don't know if that's the move. I don't know if that's something that Sony could even do if they wanted to. Right, like I think them forming a Game Pass that is putting out the big Naughty Dog game, or putting out the big Sony Santa Monica game on that service day and date, is just out of the cards for them. But to your point, I think there will be. I think you have to react in some way when you're going to have games like Halo Infinite and Starfield and probably the new Wolfenstein game and more come out day and date on Game Pass. I think that's going to affect the way that Sony thinks about their own subscription services, and makes it so that they have to offer deals that are somewhat comparable, or feel at least like they're offering something against that. But yeah, I'm in the place also where I'm like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that move is.
To the conversation, right, and the argument in quotes, it's that, how you just said, like, earlier, you were like, I think, Xbox will still be doing that, but PlayStation will be on its own trajectory. And I just don't see that future being possible, because this isn't, and maybe I'm being short-sighted, maybe I'm being, blind to how business will change, obviously. But that is such, if you're talking about, it's apples and oranges, for me, that's PlayStation/Xbox versus Switch, where Nintendo's been able to go off and be like, oh yeah, you guys want really slick online services and HD graphics? We're going to go make fun games over here. That, was a rough road for them till they got to Switch and they have a huge hit on their hands. So like, as long as PlayStation wants to sit there and be PlayStation, I think they're always going to be competing with Xbox until one of them says, well, we don't want to be that anymore. And even with Xbox Game Pass, if it was that Xbox is going to pivot and just be like, okay, Game Pass is on every device, and Game Pass is our core business, and Game Pass is this, that, and the other, I still think that that's still competing with PlayStation enough that it wouldn't be, all right, cool, they're separate things, we're not worrying about it.
Mm-hmm. See, I feel like they are going separate ways. Like, I feel like Xbox are the ones that are like, cool, we're not going to compete as directly in terms of the big first party game race, in terms of trying to, what's that look?
They just bought ZeniMax and all those first party studios.
Yeah, but the strategy isn't like, we're gonna sell these games to you at a premium price, right? The strategy is, I see what you're saying. We're building a platform, we're looking at Xbox as bigger than the box and its games. Sure. Whereas PlayStation, I think, does feel more like they're in the Nintendo realm of things, where it is, hey, we have a box that we're selling to you. Hey, we have these big first party IP that we're selling to you, and it is us focusing on that IP and building up that IP as something that is going to curate a fan base around it. We're going to create Last of Us and the Last of Us community, right? We're going to have Ghost of Tsushima and have a community around that, and have multiple releases around that. We're going to have a Ghost of Tsushima show that we'll produce with HBO or whoever. Sure. And we're going to build these IP up as something premium, and we're going to sell them as something premium on our platform for $70. Until PlayStation 5 or PlayStation sales start to temper out in a way where they are really feeling the effects of what Xbox are doing, I think it's going to be business as usual for PlayStation. I think they're going to double down even more and more in terms of being almost like a Nintendo-like company, in terms of, hey, you want us for our games and you want us for our hardware, and we're going to give that to you. Whereas Xbox is more focused on the platform and building a wide variety of games that are getting services under the service on our platform.
In this same vein, I'm gonna do that thing where Gauchoniak? Yeah, Gauchonic. Gauchonic. That's it. Intercap would help me. Sorry. What's next for PlayStation Plus? I.e., new services, expanded offerings, etc. My fear for Sony is that they take commercial success as validation to coast. A common refrain from PS I Love You XOXO recently, but I want to add my voice to those that see things like the closure of Japan studio, the drip feed of PlayStation 5 games thus far, and many other factors as worrying signs. See, that's what makes predicting 7 years, or not even predicting, but asking these questions so cloudy and hazy, because I do see it literally what you're talking about, Gaucho Nick, and what you just talked about, Blessing, is PlayStation business as usual. And it's what we've seen, right? As Xbox keeps making crazy moves of, getting Double Fine, going off and getting ZeniMax, doing cloud streaming, doing Game Pass, games day and date, yada, yada, yada. You do see PlayStation look at them and go, cool, we are a console and a console ecosystem sold by exclusives, sold by AAA exclusives. So we will double down on that. We will pare down things like Japan Studio. We will make, PlayStation Studios partnerships with people so that they're making stuff, whereas Xbox is buying, the whole thing so that future properties from Ninja Theory, from Double Fine, from Bethesda will be exclusive to them. And so then when you get here and you go, well, okay, what's next for PlayStation Plus? I agree with what you both are saying. It's business as usual. Nothing changes. So the question becomes, what has to change to actually get it, to make anything happen?
I think they're going to do something, right? Like, I think they're going to try to find different ways to add value. And you look at, I forget exactly what it's called, PlayStation Plus Video Pass.
Yeah.
The one that they're
from Poland, right?
Yeah, that they're testing out in Poland. That's an example of them being like, all right, what do we have that we can use to build value into this thing when our competitors are finding very strong ways to build value into their own services? And I think Video Pass is an example of that. I think they're going to continue to try and find ways to try and build value. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe VR is the way to go with that, right? And it is, adding in a VR game every month to PS Plus. But the PlayStation is in a very fascinating place because it's hard to think about what they can do. Like Microsoft is a company with so much resources and so much money to kind of throw around in order to make these gigantic moves. Sony as a company, I feel like, doesn't have that same amount of options in terms of, cool, we can put we can partner with studios to put games on there, but outside of that, right? Like, Sony is a company, we have our movie division and we have like other technology things, but we're kind of limited in terms of big moves we can make to really change the business and sway with what the competitions are doing.
Well, that's where it gets interesting, right? Where we are talking about what's next for PlayStation Plus, and we are talking about how do you, or a PlayStation service of some kind, right? A subscription service. I think you're right on the money of, okay, cool. But we have all these different services. We have all these different branches of Sony. How can we activate any of them? I don't know if you can effectively, because I think even when they're like, oh, it's PlayStation Prime Video, whatever the hell they're calling it, right? Of these movies, it's a handful of weird movies. Who the hell cares? What I think makes it way more interesting is the whole, hey, guess what? In 2022, we're really going deep with Discord. What does that mean? And can they get it to a point where, my PlayStation Plus subscription gives me a discount on Discord Nitro, gives me Discord Nitro? And then I wonder if you can start negotiating deals to benefit the services people are already using. PlayStation made a big deal recently, right? Of, cool, we are closing down the TV and movies part of the PlayStation Store. Why? We can see the data. You are all using apps like Hulu, like Netflix, like et cetera, right? Is it possible to get a deal with any of them for exclusivity? Not of the app, but for benefits, where it is that, cool, if you are a Netflix member, you can bundle it with your PlayStation Plus subscription and get X amount of dollars off both services. If that there is I don't even know, PlayStation events, which I'm way too far into the thing that would never actually happen here, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to say exclusive content because that sounds terrible. Of like, there's a hot new show coming out, only available on your Netflix PlayStation 5 app. That's garbage.
Hours, no.
I was thinking more something that's already been released, not the fact that
Black Mirror
season
5
exclusive
Netflix
on
shows,
PlayStation. Hours. Yeah. But I think that would be an interesting way to go with it. Of rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and make new services, why not partner with the services people are already using that we can see? Like, why not throw something in there for Spotify? Why not throw something else that people are using? Why not use Discord?
The thing that gets tough about it is that I feel like that alone by itself isn't a big enough move, and I think it would take a bunch of those to really like drive that home of like, hey, you really want PlayStation Plus, but like people already, the thing is like people are already sold on PlayStation Plus. People are already buying PlayStation Plus. Like, how much is bundling in Spotify or bundling in Netflix going to sell that to people that are already on the platform? Especially when you look at, I believe with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, they have had those same deals. Like, they've had deals where you can get discounts on Spotify and on different services when for maybe like a month or however many months. Maybe it's ongoing. I'm not sure.
You're right.
Where if you get Xbox Game Pass, you get access to those, and like, those are great moves. Like, I think people are have that added level of enticement from that. But I don't think it's a service seller, and I think PlayStation Plus are going to have to find more things to be service sellers, right? I think online playing PlayStation games
can you
online,
even do that at that point, right?
Yeah,
like I feel like I'm
and
right there with
point,
you that the stuff they're doing, I totally agree with you. Is that what we're talking about here is the added value benefit, making it worth your time to be a subscriber. Does any of this matter? Does anybody care? PlayStation Plus is required to play multiplayer games, so there you go, boom, done.
Yep.
But like once in a while, I'll give you free Fortnite stuff. So if you were doing, I know Fortnite doesn't require it, but
like you get 2 free games, you get a lot of deals and discounts on PlayStation games, and I mean those all that right there are sellers of the service in a way where I don't necessarily think you need to go super hard with it. Like past that, for how many people are in PlayStation Plus that have PlayStation. I think it's right there, and it does seem like they do try to find ways to still build value between Video Pass, and then also I think Game Help is exclusive to PlayStation Plus. And then you have things like when they announced, actually I might get this wrong, but Grand Theft Auto 5, the versions coming to PS5, I believe GTA Online is going to be free for PS Plus members. Is that the case? Yeah. So,
or is it upgrade only? I forget what it was. We just talked about it on Games Daily last week.
Yeah, I forget the exact details of that, but I believe there's some PlayStation Plus benefits there also, which means that they're looking for ways to build value, but though it all feels like it is additive stuff. Let's make the deal so there's always that extra level of enticement for our users, and not necessarily all right, here's the big new reason you need PS Plus. I think that's the question for me of. I know you can actually make that my answer. Actually, for the first question of what's the biggest PlayStation question that'll be answered in 2028, my answer to that will be, what is the big new hook to PS Plus?
To drop this in just for clarification, this comes from the Rockstar press release. While the standalone version of GTA Online will be available to players on both platforms, this new standalone version of GTA Online will be available for free exclusively to PlayStation 5 players during the first 3 months. And PlayStation Plus members on PS4, make sure to claim your 1 million GTA bucks by visiting the PlayStation Store at the start of every month until the launch of GTA Online on PlayStation 5.
Gotcha.
So there's your benefit there. Yeah, of course. And I think the question of what is PlayStation Plus and everything else, and what is the big new hook for PlayStation Plus, all falls into this. Did Game Pass move the needle enough to make things change?
For sure.
Because I do think if Game Pass is a fizzle and doesn't draw the numbers and doesn't, lead to a subscriber, gamer, whatever you want to care, mind share leak from PlayStation to Microsoft, why would Xbox change it, or why would PlayStation change anything? And if it is the fact that, cool, we're just going to keep giving you these free games every month, and they're hit or miss quality, but as we laid out when we talked about it a few months ago now, probably, like when you look at the library of PlayStation Plus for the last few years, you establish a library of like, man, these are really great games. And does the current crop, and this changes all the time, of Game Pass games, compare to that? Because it is PlayStation bringing in different games, and obviously, I think that ebbs and flows, and obviously, there's way more changes to Game Pass than there are PlayStation Plus. So any given month, that could change around. But that was when we were arguing if that was actually the true competitor, rather than PlayStation Now to Xbox Game Pass. Mm-hmm. Blessing,
Greg.
Let's continue building our time capsule, okay? I'm looking through the list of stuff we have here. See what I want to toss at you right away. Where do I want to go with this? You know what I mean?
I like this question you got right here.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good
Blessing.
one.
That's a spicy one.
7 years from now, all right? It's May 25th, 2018. Everybody's Google, and your Echo starts freaking out, telling you that, hey, this alarm from 7 years ago has gone off. You snap awake, you listen to this show. The question I want past Blessing to tell future Blessing is this. Who's made the best PlayStation 5 game?
Are we talking about PlayStation first party or just period on the platform?
I think just period on the platform.
Oh.
Now, for me personally, and this is always tough, but I would say, looking back for me, it's usually first party. But I do realize, of course, that that's a ball of wax and everybody has a different game of the generation, Witcher 3, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But who do you think's made the best PlayStation 5? And if you want, we can do first party, and then you could also expand it to third party if you thought you needed to.
I think that's easier to do. So I'm going to start with first party. And I mean, naturally, you would go to Sony Santa Monica versus Naughty Dog, I think.
You might.
Yeah.
But I guess my question would also be, like, is there over the next generation, right? Do we get another PlayStation developer rise to prominence in the way that those two have, right? Does Insomniac put out their Last of Us? Does Sucker Punch, does Ghost of Tsushima 2 end up being like a 10 out of 10 game across all these different outlets and a game of the year winner across so many different outlets? Oh man, I like this.
Like,
I like
where
this
does Spider-Man 2 go and shit like that? Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, you got plenty of Spider-Man 2 stuff coming up. Don't worry about that.
Who's made the best PS5 game?
Look at him. Look at the wheel spin over here.
Yeah. I mean, do you have an answer? Are you?
I mean, no, we're all just guessing blindly, right, on what it could possibly be. So yeah, who knows? Like,
I think God of War Ragnarok will be a big moment for solidifying the PlayStation 5 in this generation. So I think even after 7 years, Ragnarok will be looked at as like, that is a top tier PS5 game. And this is me just projecting and hoping that game is fucking awesome. Knowing that team, it's going to be great. I'm going to throw out an exclusive that's not necessarily first party, is whatever Atlas comes out with next.
Okay.
As a follow-up to Persona 5, like you imagine that they're going to want to go, like, how do they even top?
I mean, Persona 6, right?
Yeah, if it is Persona 6, if they want to do something else, like how they kind of like went off the cuff with Catherine, right? And so I think whatever they do next, like, they're probably thinking of, like, how do we follow up the game that kind of, and this is personal bias here, but also, like, I do think Persona as a series has never been talked about as much until 5 came out. Like, I know you guys liked.
No, you are Barrett. Full stop. Right. I mean, as somebody who has done this when you were still in kindergarten. Yes. No, you are 100% correct. That Persona 5 is the biggest Persona 5 or biggest Persona to date.
Yeah.
Golden did a lot for it, obviously, and I think put it on so many people's radar.
Yeah.
But that said, it was on Vita. So even though so many people bought a Vita for that, they did not play that game.
Yeah. And so I think whatever Atlas wants to try to make next, I do think we'll get it this generation, but it'll be interesting to see what it is. And I think that'll also be like a contender there.
Here's something I'll throw in. Do we get Bloodborne 2? Does From Software make a first party PlayStation
Steve
Studios
Infected
game?
writes into patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can, for the Time Capsule, and says, man, how good was Bloodborne 2? And that final boss, a masterpiece in game design. My question is, do you think Bloodborne 2 will get a 60 frames per second patch? Do you think they're waiting to re-release a Bloodborne collection on PS6 and we'll finally get to play both games in 60 frames per second? P.S. Greg, congrats on baby number 3. Blessing, the beard is looking great as always. P.P.S. All hail Emperor Kevin.
Oh, God. Also, Bloodborne
fantastic.
card, so.
Yeah, Bloodborne card. That's where it'll go next. Yeah.
Because if they put out Bloodborne 2, I think that would be my answer. I'm gonna say From Software. Fuck. Yeah, I'm gonna say From Software makes another PlayStation exclusive game, another PlayStation first party game, and it's the best one.
Okay. So are you tossing that in the? You want that to be your? Are you still breaking up first party, third party?
Yes. So that's my first party. Actually,
okay.
You know what? Fuck it. That was my third party, just so I can cheat. Because I do like thinking about the first party studios.
More kind of a third. It's similar to Atlas, right? Where like even though Persona 5 and Persona 4 were kind of exclusive to their systems, right? They're not really.
The difference is Bloodborne is literally a first party game. Like it's produced by PlayStation, whereas Atlas is published, or Sega is publishing. Sega publishes Persona 5, right?
Yeah, Sega Atlas now.
Okay, yeah.
For me personally, and I know obviously, best game of the generation or whatever is going to be subjective no matter what. I think it'll come from a first party. And that does get interesting because obviously PlayStation Studios is this umbrella that makes any third party that they work with first party to an extent. But I do look at that, like you were talking about earlier, the front runners of what we already know from what was Worldwide Studios or what is Worldwide Studios in the PlayStation Studios ecosystem of Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and then Sucker Punch in terms of who would actually pull this off. And I think this is something that I used to say all the time on Podcast Beyond, and now we're however many years removed from Uncharted 2, right? But I've said over and over again of like, it has to end sometime. Naughty Dog has to have a foul ball at some point. They have to have a game that is not just fucking amazing. And as long as I was saying that on Beyond, it never came true to my. And I know I'm not trying to get into an argument of Uncharted 2 versus 3 versus 4. Let's just step back and talk about those games. Like those games are awesome. Those games, like removing scores, removing if you liked the story or whatever. Like the game is awesome. and then toss in The Last of Us, then toss in Last of Us Part 2.
They only got better and better.
Yeah,
exactly. And so to have that argument there, I get to this point where I'm like, well, I feel like it's tried to say Naughty Dog again, but I don't have a reason why. Because what's my reason? That you have to miss sometime, like you have to not do something amazing sometime. I think the argument would be maybe of like atrophy, turnover, studio churn, people come and go. What happens if Evan's still there? Christoph left, and that didn't change Naughty Dog's complexion. Evan's still there. Neil's moved up, but what if Neil leaves? What if this happens? What if
is the same Kurt Naughty Dog 7 years from now going to be the same Naughty Dog that's making games right now?
And so that's why, like, I really feel when I talk about who's going to make the best PlayStation 5 game, I feel like it's going to be someone with. It sounds bad, but a chip on their shoulder. And does that mean that it's going to be I think it's going to be Insomniac.
Say Ben Studio.
Insomniac. No, I thought about it. I do think Ben Studio for me personally, and this again is never a reflection on them, but it's all that hullabaloo we had in the story there. One of the questions we should put on here is Ben Studio going to be around? I have a different first party on here. Are they going to still be a studio? But is Sony Ben going to be absorbed into something? What does Sony Ben get to put out again next time? How many people are sticking around for that? But for me right now, I think I would put chips on Insomniac. I think Insomniac got purchased right at the perfect time. And I think, you look at obviously their history with Ratchet and you go, well, was there ever a bad time to purchase Insomniac? No. But off of the fucking success of Spider-Man. And again, Spider-Man taking it and suddenly putting Insomniac on another fucking level on a way that, again, we talk about this all the time of, you, the person listening to this podcast right now and listen to Beyond and follow IGN and PlayStation news so closely, like, yeah, you've known Insomniac, you've known Ted Price, you've known Sunset Overdrive and Marcus Smith and Drew Murray and all these people. But I think at large, since PS2 Ratchets, right, people really didn't think of Insomniac as like, oh man, they're making really cool shit. It was just like, oh, Ratchet, that's cool. I like Ratchet games, yada, yada, yada. But to have Spider-Man and have Insomniac go to such a different level and have such a successful game, and then again, I know Blessing hates it. That's why I put up the poster back there to remind himself of games he hates. To then take it to yet another level with Miles Morales and fucking show that in it was 2 years, 2.5 years, how much they fucking learned from that first game to what this game was going to be in terms of storytelling, design, characters, everything else, pacing. And then now to again be in the eye of the hurricane right now, it's quiet. Sit here and be like, Ratchet looked fucking unreal. And like that, like what? So what does that mean for this studio that is going to continue to get more praise, is going to continue to get more assets, is going to continue to get more money, you think, from PlayStation, and is on the precipice of Spider-Man 2, you assume, or whatever the next Spider-Man project's going to be? Like, I really feel like they are rolling right now. And granted, there's multiple teams, so they're able to put more games out, so they're able to learn more about what's going on. And so you worry. I don't worry. I wonder if the pitfalls and firsthand experience that, of course, we always talk about PlayStation Studios sharing between each other, right? Yeah, when it was Horizon time, there was conversations, of Herman talking about, oh yeah, we learned from talking to Naughty Dog about this, and then when Kojima started working on Death Stranding, he did the whole studio tour and learned and used the Decima engine. Like, there's learnings there, but I think there's so much you only learn from a firsthand perspective. And so if Insomniac's going to keep putting out so many PlayStation 5 games, right? They figure like they're already going to have 2 under their belt by the time we get to the end of this year, let alone 7 years from now. I think they could really do something special.
I want to say Insomniac, because Insomniac is probably my favorite first party PlayStation studio. The question that comes to mind for me is the next generation for them just Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man, or do they do something new? Because I think a Spider-Man 2, as dope as it's going to be, I think for me will still be more Spider-Man along with a Ratchet and Clank. Like, they'll be incredible, like they'll probably be my favorite game, some of my favorite games that year. But how much does a Spider-Man 2 or a Spider-Man 3 or another Ratchet and Clank game do for me versus what could be a new IP from Naughty Dog, or maybe a new IP from Sony Santa Monica if they end up getting there, or maybe even Guerrilla, right? Like, I wonder if Insomniac is in a place right now because they really revved up, with Spider-Man in 2018. I wonder if they're still going to be in that cycle by the end of these next 7 years, where they're like, cool, we just put out Spider-Man 2 and another Ratchet game. Now we're working on Spider-Man 3. I wonder if that's going to speak to me and us in general, right? They put out the best game this generation, and it was Spider-Man 3. You know, I think a Spider-Man 3 probably has less, I guess, less potential to hit us in a way that a God of War reboot hit us, or a Horizon Zero Dawn, or a Ghost of Tsushima, or even a Spider-Man 2018 for that matter.
My prediction is, and again, this is fun. You know, look back at this in 7 years. Is I think that they go from Ratchet and Clank, and multiple teams. So I know we're playing fast and
for sure.
Ratchet and Clank, and then I think they'll do Spider-Man 2, and then I think they'll do something new. I don't think they go right back to Ratchet. I think one of the reasons Ratchet has this fervor behind it is the fact that they hadn't done Ratchet in a bit. And I know 2016 for the reboot, but even like before then, right? We were talking about A Crack in Time and all the core Ratchet stuff that they had been doing on PS3. Like, I think taking that and putting it on the sideline for as long as they did is leading to people being hungry for this kind of game because it's given them time to miss it. In the same way, I want to talk about a different first party franchise coming up in a bit. But I think after Ratchet is Spider-Man, and then after Spider-Man will be something new, which could be Sunset Overdrive, whatever they call it. You know what I mean? I don't think they'll put a 2 on it, but I think they would, expand on that. They could expand on that franchise and do something crazy with it, but I doubt it.
My answer is going to be Naughty Dog for first party. I think
safe choice.
Yeah, and I think they're in the place to finally do another new IP, and I think a new IP from Naughty Dog has potential to hit in the way Last of Us 1 hit, and like it's something that I think it's something that I'm for sure thirsting for, and it's something that I think a lot of people at this point are thirsting for. You know, despite loving Uncharted and loving Last of Us, like a new IP from Naughty Dog just strikes me as such an exciting thing, and. Sure. I think that easily has potential, and it's to that opposite thing that you were mentioning earlier, right? About like, hey, like they have to mess up sometime, right? They have to mess up at a certain point. But I think for them, the right move would be working on something fresh and new, and if they're able to do that, that could maybe sidestep that in a way where I could see them messing up with another Uncharted. I could see them messing up with maybe a third Last of Us. I think them working on something completely different and new gives them more opportunity to be like, cool, let's build something new. Let's build something from the ground up. Let's define what a thing is, and give something for people to be anticipated by, and not necessarily judge as hard as somebody would judge a new Last of Us or a new Uncharted.
Honestly, that's what I hope. And I do want to talk about Uncharted in here eventually for our 7 years prediction. But like it was that thing of after Last of Us Part 2 came and went and had all the Game of the Year awards, when I forget who it was interviewing Neil, and he mentioned like, me and Hallie have done a rough outline of what Last of Us 3 would look like, just like Last of Us 2. Where like Last of Us 1 ended and I was like, awesome, I don't need more Last of Us. But if you do it, I'll like it, I'm sure. Same thing I feel for Last of Us Part 3, where if you're going to go make another Last of Us, I'm sure it'll be great, and I can't wait to see that story. But I'd be way more stoked if it was, all right, cool, we have a different thing to tell. We're getting, it's going to be different gameplay mechanics, it's going to be a different setting, it's brand new. This is where we're going, because I just think there's something to that, right? That I feel, what Last of Us Part 3, what is it going to be? It's going to be us making our way across the country, and it's man and humanity to man.
It's going to be real violent.
People. Yeah, exactly. And there's some weird new infected we didn't know about somehow.
Yeah, I think we get both. I think we get a new IP some point this generation from Naughty Dog, and then I think we will maybe similar to Last of Us Part 1 and then Part 2. I think we'll probably get a Part 3 to round out this generation. Is it a swan song? But I'm going to say, I'm going to put my guess at Sony Santa Monica for first party.
Yeah? Why is that?
Because I think they are, with the new direction that they have taken God of War and the way that they can tell stories and have great character arcs, that writing team is great. But then also just from a gameplay standpoint as well. Like I know the kind of Naughty Dog cover shoot and stuff like that doesn't vibe with everybody. Although I do think The Last of Us Part 2 they really push like what they can do and stealth and shooting and stuff like that, which was really impressive. And like just level design around all of that was really cool. But like I still don't think it comes anywhere near like how fun and satisfying it is to play 2018 God of War. And I think they'll just kind of keep expanding on that and keep making it fun and go into really interesting places with the lore that they're tackling and the characters and stuff like that. I think God of War, whatever they do with the future of God of War, or even if they take a break from it and try to do something else, like I think Sony Santa Monica.
See, and that's my other prediction with God of War is I think they do Ragnarok and then they're like, cool, let's move on to something else. Let's do something different.
You don't think they do a trilogy?
No, okay. I don't.
Because we've had this conversation, yeah. which I'm surprised you don't think they're going to do a trilogy.
I feel like go ahead.
I would think, because I could see them doing Ragnarok and then moving on to something else, but then coming back and having it be like a switch out thing over going back and forth between two franchises. Because I would love to see what something new and big from Sony Santa Monica would look like. But like I feel like that's a story that you have to have. Here's my thing: people love trilogies. Cory Barlog strikes me as a dude that's probably like, I want to make a trilogy, right? I want to make the best trilogy in gaming. Like there's something about that 3-story structure that really hits, and I don't know. I think a developer like that would probably strive for in terms of trying to make like this masterpiece thing. And I think there's a lot of story you can tell of course, that's left in God of War.
But my question for the time capsule for us cracking this open again. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's May 25th, 2028. I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad your calendar reminders went off. My question is Cory Barlog still at Sony Santa Monica?
In 7 years.
No.
In 7 years. Yeah, 2028.
How long has he been there?
He's been he's
been a while.
Yeah, he left and came back. So that's the thing, right? My thought is like, you watch the documentary Raising Kratos online, which you all should, of course, and you see God of War like break Cory. And so the idea that they're making another God of War right now, I would imagine is a similar stressor. And for the record, obviously, I talk to Cory every so often, but not like usually publicly, maybe an occasional DM or some bullshit. I have no inside information. Cory and I are not close enough friends to the point that I know anything about his psyche, what's going on in his life, yada, 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 yada. I would think that if he's going through that again now, especially with a family and a child and all this stuff, like there has to be a point where like he has to have something to say, and I think he'd say it and then be like, cool, I'm taking a break again and I'm leaving, which makes me think that PlayStation wouldn't be like, yep, this is a trilogy, we're doing this thing. Because not that, of course, as we've seen, God of War can't exist without its original creator or something like that, but I think what made God of War 2018 work so well was that it was personal. And so God of War Ragnarok, again, is going to be, you'd expect, this personal story for Cory and the team. I'm not trying to take away from all the people who work on this game, like trying to say it's all him to something like that. I just feel like it's, this sounds terrible, stick with me. I feel like in the same way, I talk about my greatest fear is my cancer coming back. And I talk about that because I was so naive going into my cancer battle where I didn't know how bad it would be. Like, I feel not that making God of War is cancer to Cory Barlog, but I feel like he knows before he even, like, you watch that documentary and he knows what the pitfalls are, I guess, and what the bad things could be, but also how to turn them around, maybe. But like, I just feel like there's so much pressure on him right now. And because I think about it, like it's exactly what we're talking about a little bit with Starfield, where it's like people are so fucking hyped for God of War Ragnarok, and what do we know? That there's some ice in the logo and like that. And why? Because 2018 was a masterpiece. 2018 again is my favorite game of all time. I think it's perfect. And so to sit there and be like, cool, make a sequel to a perfect game. Oh, fucking, and like you can say whatever you want about checking the critics at your door and go in there and make your thing, blah blah blah. But I feel like you pour yourself back into that, and I feel like, cool, I need something else. Does Cory want to live and breathe God of War for that long? And I know I've now mixed two questions, right, where we're talking about will there be a God of War 3, and now I'm also bringing up this question of, is Cory still at Santa Monica? I say no, he's not at Santa Monica. I think he finishes God of War 2 and bounces.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree with you kind of halfway there. I think like God of War Ragnarok, I think will be his like last big project, but I do think that they still want to think of it as a trilogy, and I think he might take the George Lucas route where he might have like overall plans of what like how to end the trilogy, and then give that vision,
give the reins to somebody else,
give it to someone else, like
Pierce.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're bringing in new writers and stuff like that. Like maybe they're in a place right now where he's trying to like. And again, this is like I know absolutely nothing. The last time I talked to Cory Barlog was like 2018, and so he might be trying to like bring up like the next kind of like era of writers for that studio and see what they can do for the future of that studio. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens, and then like he kind of has a kind of almost like a consulting role in God of War 3, but isn't at the studio anymore, and that's like kind of it.
I mean, it's that other thing, too, of like, what you're talking about with the studio. Like, we're so hung up on Cory, of course, but even for the studio, the people who have been there forever, do they want, like, what is that going to be? And granted, I know we're then spreading out of when God of War 2 comes out, yada, yada, but like, it's like a decade of their life doing 2 games of God of War. Like, do you want to move on to something else, or do you want to keep animating Kratos and telling the Kratos story. And granted, I know this game hits, so you get new talent that come there wanting to work on that project. Like that's a real thing that happens too. Like I don't know.
I think I see exactly what you're talking about in terms of Corey, and I think just the fact that 7 years is a long time. I would not be surprised to see Cory Barlog peace out in that time. But I think for what the God of War universe is, I think there's so much story that you can tell in that universe. And if like I could see the case where these God of War Ragnarok is still like this. Like the same God of War from God of War 2018, but maybe it is more focused on Atreus. And then by the time you get to the third entry, maybe Corey is gone, but there is a new character introduced in Ragnarok that is actually the focus. That is a surprise to us that we don't realize, and that gives them leeway to build out that world or continue to explore that. I think there's still so much in that IP that you can get a trilogy out of it super easily. You
could just make them nonstop. That's the thing. Also,
yeah,
that's the temptation, right? And that's what we talk about is PlayStation playing too safe. Are they doing this? And like, especially then them wanting to do these big budget things. Awesome. Nick Scarpino, I'm sorry, Cheetos Fingers himself is joining us. Hey, Nick.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're playing some dodgeball over on the live stream right now. So if you guys want to wrap this up real quick and come play with us, that'd be real fun.
We got a lot of show left.
Yeah, we got a lot of show left.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'd love to though. Cool. How are you? Are you good? Because of course, remember we're playing for the right to get the logo in Knockout City Friday. Are you good enough that you're going to be on that team, or are you going to be a cheerleader?
We're at that part in the montage where we're losing a lot, but we're going to pull it back out. We're going to pull it out. It's going to be fun.
I appreciate that.
All right, have fun with your show.
Right. Good luck. For the record, Bless Barrett and I were killing people yesterday. All right, so don't worry about who the A team rolling in there.
Should be the starting lineup on Friday. I'm just saying it.
Mike's pretty good. Mike's really good, actually. Yeah. And I was playing with Mike and Andy after you guys went to bed last night, and Mike was really passing, which we did not do. And we were still cleaning clocks. We didn't have to, but the passing mechanic and using it the way they were, where they were calling it out, was actually leading to some just instant knockouts.
Yeah, and like charging up the ball and stuff. Yeah.
When you pass it, it comes in hot, so you can throw it right away, which then gets it off. People aren't waiting. Right, they're thinking you're going with a slower ball. You hit them real quick. It's easy.
Hear me out. There's a Knockout City 1v1 mode. What if we just battle to see who's the starting lineup? We just have a tournament.
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Back to it. Question I want to throw out here into the time capsule. All right. 7 years. Well, first off, 7 years from now, you still working at Kind of Funny, Blessing?
That's my answer.
You son of a bitch. Is Media Molecule still a studio? And as a bonus, if yes, is Dreams still their thing?
God,
Blessing Adeoye Jr., the Blessing Show's own, all about dreams, made in dreams. What do you think?
I'm gonna say yes. They're still a studio. Is Dreams still a thing? I'm gonna say, like, I think it still exists. I think servers are still up. I think people are still it still has a very small community, but I think Media Molecule by then has announced their new game, and it is something more. I'm not gonna say like traditional because they're never really traditional, but something that kind of brings it back in line with a Little Big Planet or something that is more identifiable and has a character to it more than Dreams.
Okay. I'm with you that God, I hope so. But to go into the time capsule, I would say no. And I think it's back to what we've been talking about this episode, every episode recently, of how PlayStation is looking at what a PlayStation studio is and how they want banger after banger from these first parties. And if you're not making banger after banger, you can be a PlayStation Studios title. We can work with you that way, but we'd rather not have you, under our umbrella. We don't want you actually owned and operated for it. And I still feel that Media Molecule is such an amazing studio, but I think they're just too artsy for PlayStation 2021. So as we've been talking, if nothing changes and it's status quo and we get to 2028, where do they fit in? What are they making? And it's that idea of like Dreams is such quicksand because you can't just abandon Dreams. You need to be there and support Dreams. So if you're supporting Dreams, can you ever fully spin up something else? And even if you were to spin up something else, like in the era of, what we've seen in terms of creation tools and Fortnite and building, and I know I'm playing fast and loose with that, but like, is there a place for something more in line with Little Big Planet? Are people jonesing for that as something they really, really want?
Yeah, it's difficult. Like, I think there's a lot of reality to what you're saying, and my yes is mainly a hopeful yes of like I really want them to be around because they are such a dope studio to me. And
of course,
dope studio to a lot of people. I'm my thing is, I think PlayStation understands what Media Molecule is. Like, they've got to, right? Like,
do they?
Knowing,
sure. Okay. Yeah, they understand it. I agree that even right now in 2021, they understand what Media Molecule is. Media Molecule is. My question is, does PlayStation appreciate? Do they respect? Do they cherish what Media Molecule is?
Yeah, and the answer probably is probably not. Given what we know about PlayStation as a company and how they operate, and given where PlayStation was when Media Molecule is putting out Little Big Planet 1, that was PS3 PlayStation. That was a different PlayStation. That's PlayStation that we always talk about as being like more of a weird PlayStation, unique, putting out different quirky products on the first party level. Now PlayStation is a different company, and I wonder if that means that Media Molecule's next game is maybe focused toward being something that is maybe Astrobot-ish. Maybe it is like a cool. How do we refocus you in a way that is more aligned with what we feel like will sell our platform and what we feel like will build our platform, but also falls in line with what we know you to be. And I wonder if that comes in the way of, hey, put out another Little Big Planet. That is maybe not Little Big Planet per se, but it is like a 3D platformer, or like some kind of game that exists as a single player game that has a story, has a narrative, is good quality, but also can have personality and be quirky. I hope that's the answer. I hope that's something that they want to do. But I don't know, man. It is dire. What you say is true, and it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, do they appreciate them? The answer is probably not, compared to their other bigger studios that are putting out your Last of Us's and Ghost of Tsushima's and all that stuff.
It's an interesting one because I feel like, and again, I know I'm talking out of turn here because we talk about Jim Ryan a lot on this show and how he comes off as such a business dude. He strikes me as he does not value Media Molecule in terms of like what they're actually like all about. But like Herman Hulse, obviously in charge of PlayStation Studios, I think he does. Like Herman gets it, but it also comes down to, if your boss is like, all these games need to make money, all these games need to be this big thing, and I don't think it's like to the most devious extent of how that could go, but it is very much that this is a business and PlayStation's making money, and again, all the moves we've gone through and talked about, and all the reports we've had, it just doesn't, to me, seem like Media Molecule fits into that portfolio the way they want them to, and what that looks like going forward, I don't know, but in 7 years, I feel like they have to have a hit, and have they had a hit by then?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point.
This has been a great time capsule. We've talked a lot longer than I thought we were going to talk about. I thought we'd move through things quicker. You know what I mean? Do you want to do some lightning round questions, or you want me to toss out some other ones from the chat? This is one I like from the chat, or not the chat, the patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Joshy G wrote in and said, for Spider-Man 2, 1, will we get Gwen Stacy as Spider-Gwen? 2, will we get a fight between Miles and a corrupted black-suited Spider-Man? And then 3, how amazing is Persona 6 going to be?
I mean, to the second question, do we get a fight between Miles and a black suit Spider-Man? Yes.
100%.
100%. To the first question, do we get Gwen Stacy Spider-Gwen? I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, have we had anything to hint towards that or even lead towards that?
No.
We're in Mary Jane territory still. I feel like you got a game or two before we get to Gwen Stacy.
See,
but
here's
they started with Miles.
Yeah,
you would have thought there'd be a game or two before that, and man. Like, the rules are out the window.
I think Spider-Man 2 is going to be the end of the Peter era. So like, I think I really think that like we're by the end of Spider-Man 2, like Peter will have hung up the mask and have moved on and have trusted Miles to leave. To like kind of protect the city and have
to be Spider-Man,
to be the Spider-Man, and so I think for that series to keep going, and they're gonna want it to keep going as long as Marvel will let them, right? Like I think you're gonna get a lot of like a cool expansion of different Spider people in the future. So yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know if we'll get Spider-Gwen by the end of Spider-Man 2, but I think we'll.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could get there eventually. Spider-Man 2 just feels way too quick for me to get Spider-Gwen. Like maybe Gwen Stacy gets introduced in some way. I don't know. I would love for the Spider-Man universe to eventually have an Into the Spider-Verse moment where it is like bringing in different Spider-Mans from different universes. But I also don't. I want them to build towards that. I want that to be.
See,
like,
the problem there is
now.
yeah, exactly. They can't do it anytime soon. I think, especially if the rumors of the next Spider-Man live action movie are correct, right? Where it's like, if it is into the Spider-Verse, then you're getting into Spider-Verse 2, which is more Spider-Verses. Then you're getting Spider-Man No Way Home, right? That's apparently going to be a Spider-Verse movie too. I feel like you have to stay away from that. But then it gets interesting of like, correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I'm looking at you, and then anybody who remembers this. There's no mention of Gwen in Spider-Man PS4, right? Like, not even like a like any of the trinkets he finds or anything like that. There's nothing about her, right? Because I guess Goblin doesn't even exist yet, right?
Yeah, I don't think there is a mention of Gwen.
Okay, then I think for sure you'll see her introduced. Does she suit up and get powers and stuff like that in Spider? Yeah, you know what? I bet she does. I bet she, because I think
in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Oh, you're crazy.
I think they do it the same way, right? Of introduce her towards the end. That way that they can do again, as I've talked about, I hope they do more little smaller games, like Come Here Quicker or whatever, but give us a thing as go out there and beat Gwen after that. Because I still think the first it's going to open as you being Peter, you going after Harry with the symbiote, you beating Harry, or Harry getting the symbiote early on, maybe even like a Kingpin kind of thing. Then you have to deal with the symbiote changing you. Then you flip to being Miles as Peter slowly loses it, and then you go after him, stop him, and then that's the end of it or whatever.
Wait, but then when does Gwen come into play?
Comes in she's introduced or somewhere in the middle of it. You know, maybe she's doing tests on the symbiote or whatever. Maybe that's how she gets her Spider-Gwen powers or something to that effect. And then at the end, the final fight, she has to help out. And she doesn't have the full-blown suit or whatever. At the end, you have to give her one, or maybe it is in the DLC or whatever the hell it is there.
Is Gwen a love interest for Miles?
Yeah, right. Because you figure they're not going to screw with that.
Mary.
Yeah, and then they already did the Felicia stuff with Black Cat last time around through the DLC and stuff. So we already had teases of that. I think you just leave them established and go on that way. But he punches Mary Jane at some point and then dances around because he's got the black suit on now.
That's a good one.
Spider-Man. Is it Spider-Man 3 Raimi film? Take this.
Oh, and also Persona 6 is going to be rad.
Man, that crazy.
I'm gonna predict this female protagonist this time. And just female.
What's the music style? What's the music style this time?
Persona 4.
It's just the sound of a modem. It's the sound of a modem booting up, and they're like Daft Punk. It's Daft Punk, everybody.
Yeah. Persona 4 was kind of poppy. Persona 5 is jazzy. I don't know what Persona 3 was like.
It was more like rocky
music,
rappy almost. Rap rocky.
Yeah, Rap rocky. I like the overall style of that game. I have no idea.
What do you think is going to be the color? Because Persona 3 was blue, Persona 4 was gold, and then Persona 5 was red.
I love that they do green. My favorite color.
I don't know your favorite color, Barry.
I want like money, a black and white style.
I'm gonna give you some rapid fire time capsule predictions. All right, you don't have to go. You don't have to go over, off the deep end here. These can be yes or no answers. All right, Blessing.
I'm done.
Is Jim Ryan still in charge?
Yes.
My answer is no. No way.
You don't think so?
He's been at PlayStation since 1994. It's got to end sometime,
How old
right?
Is he? Hold up. How old is Jim Ryan?
I don't know if I have his actual. I don't know his actual age.
I can Google this.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Oh shit! Wait, no, that's a different Jim Ryan. Never mind. I was like, he's 74 years old. Oh god.
Well, he's got to be what? 50s?
Wait, maybe
50s. I'm looking over here. I don't have an actual thing.
I can't find a good Jim Ryan age thing.
Here we will. Hold on. Who should I email at PlayStation to get an answer?
Jim Ryan's age.
How old?
Who are you?
How old is Jim Ryan? That's just the subject field. And I'm gonna put. That's it. That's the question.
Why does anybody at any company talk to us?
Right?
This is like legitimate journalism. I don't know. I'm reading the PR thing they have about him getting promoted. I don't see it. Hold on. Hold on. Maybe the Wired article, it should be like Ryan, 55 says.
I'm so Bear, who do you think he's emailing?
Oh, the email's out. Now we're looking around trying to figure out.
Andrew Goldfarb.
I'm looking now. Yeah, now I'm on VentureBeat. Jeffy Grub's article. Yeah, Jeffy Grub ain't telling me how old. AP Style would demand that I'm told how old he is, but Jeffy Grub not doing the work here,
I can see either way, honestly. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if halfway through this next generation he's like, "Cool, I'm retiring, I'm out." But also, I would be equally like not surprised if he just if he was still there, right? Like there's nothing necessarily that I think is driving Jim Ryan out of PlayStation.
Well,
like, yeah, people don't
as
like
he,
a lot of people
talked
don't
about at the
love
top
Jim
of the
Ryan,
prediction show, right? Like fucking Sean Layden gone one day for no reason. So like
that's true.
It could be the Jack Trenton thing of like, I've done this, I've accomplished this, and now it's time to, go. So if he gets PlayStation 5 to a place where he's ready to step off and be done with it, that he feels like he's hit it, then there you go. He does that and he's gone, poo,
Mm-hmm.
But then
Jim Ryan strike is the type of dude who's like, I just launched the PlayStation 5. This was my magnum opus. Now I'm gonna like go to a planet and like Thanos and just live the rest of my life in satisfaction.
Watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. I've done it. I've fixed the PS5 supply constraint issues.
Jim Ryan strikes me as a dude who's like, yo, I'm just here, man. I just do my thing and I go home.
100%. That's what he strikes me as. 100% he strikes me as a dude who's just like, hey, cool. I'm just like, I'm doing this, and this is. I bet he loves his job. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sure he's like, I like numbers, and I'm good at business. That's why I'm here, and that's about it. I'm just gonna keep doing business.
I think he'll need to pass the torch at some point. I think I wouldn't be surprised. I would be more interested if he leaves if Herman gets promoted, because that'd be a really cool success story, I think. But I don't know if Herman's businessy enough. But hopefully that's what he's learning, being in charge of PlayStation Studios, and he could go over there and do it. But we'll have to wait and see. I say no, you say yes. Barrett, is Jim Ryan still there in 7 years?
No.
In charge? Thank you. Thank you very much. Blessing. In 7 years, does the PlayStation 5 have themes?
Oh, God, I hope so, but I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you put them in there.
Yeah.
With what the UI is right now.
Well, the UI, my thing is, I think, yes, it'll have themes. I think the UI will have been completely overhauled, and it won't be what we look at. It would look
God,
like
I hope so.
What? You hate the games in the media tab?
I like what it is, but I wish, like, I don't know. I feel like it could be more.
I wish it, like, what it is now and, like, what PS4 had, I wish there was, like, a hybrid in between the two, and hopefully they'll get there. Hopefully they'll get there.
Well, my next one is, does the PlayStation 5 have folders?
Fucking I hope so.
Yeah,
1000% it will.
100%, right? Come on, get some goddamn things. In the live chat, Z-Man Show says, I legit cannot find a birth date for this man. Jim Ryan's one of the Eternals. He's done his best to scrub it off just to be done with it, have it all gone. So
I would have assumed it would have been the first thing to pop up if I just typed in Jim Ryan. I would have assumed it did the Google thing where it's just like, hey, we know, like,
exactly.
Just give you the answer, and no, there are a lot of Jim Ryans, which I think is making it difficult. Is the thing.
But you put in PlayStation, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, which is weird. Chat, I'm gonna need somebody who understands Wikipedia. Somebody make a Wikipedia page. You know
Jim Ryan isn't a man. He's a computer. He's an AI that lives in PlayStation.
Yeah. Here's one for you. In 7 years, blessing Adeoye Jr. And this is I'm very specific on this one. All right, I'm not talking PlayStation Studios. All right. In 7 years, does PlayStation VR have 3 first-party games?
Yes.
Again, not talking about PlayStation Studios. From the first party, Sony owned and operated. 3 of those, there's been 3 games from them.
Yes. I think Insomniac will make at least 2.
And that's fair. That's where my money's at too. That I think Insomniac's working on stuff too.
And I think you'll have a couple from Insomniac and maybe a couple from Pixel Opus. Even though they've not made a VR game before, but I think they might make the transition.
They did. Concrete Genie had a VR mode. I guess not a full game.
Yeah.
They do
and
have
also,
their feet
to the Media Molecules conversation before, right? I could see them also transitioning into like going hard with VR and making that platform live and thrive. So yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Slacks writes into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and says, was PSVR 2.0 or more... Was PSVR 2.0 more than we hoped for? What finally drove people to make the leap to VR? And did it bring a new era of community to the Sony experience as a whole? Blessing. Was 7 years from now, you're looking back, you have your grandkids on your lap. Was PlayStation VR 2.0 more than we hoped for?
No. I think it'll be exactly what we expected it to be, which is more PlayStation VR that works better than the last one, but probably has the exact same amount of support, which is like, yeah, and like, here's the thing.
No,
because PSVR 1 could have used way more support for sure, but like at least had Beat Saber, and then at least that it had Tetris Connected.
Super hot.
Yeah,
Tetris
Tetris
Effect.
Effect.
Tetris
Tetris
Effect,
Effect, that's what it is. And it also had Trover. I think
Iron Man
PSVR 2, and I guess Iron Man VR, sure. PSVR 2, I think will have the exact same level of, all right, yeah, let's go.
Oh,
So
Astrobot-
to the second part of
Astrobot,
Slack's question, what finally drove people to make the leap to VR? You're saying nothing.
Nothing. No, I think it'll perform with maybe the exact same level of success, if not maybe slightly less, because people who had PSVR 1 were like, that wasn't worth it.
This hurts. And then, did it bring a whole new era of community to the Sony experience as a whole?
No.
That I agree with. They're not putting PlayStation Home into PlayStation VR 2.0, making it out there. I think PlayStation VR 2.0 will be more than we hoped for. I do not think it will be by a mile. I think the controllers are going to be better than we thought they were. I think they're going to offer more experiences than we thought they would. And I think that you'll get more games for it. But I don't think it's going to be a light switch moment. Everybody's making content for it. You're getting Game of the Year games on it. I think it's going to be PlayStation VR 2.0. It's going to be the sequel to PlayStation VR. It's not going to be PlayStation VR 5.0 and have all this crazy stuff and yada, yada, yada. And I also think that it'll be the last time they make a PlayStation VR.
That was my last question. In 7 years, are we waiting for PSVR 3?
Yeah, no, we aren't. In 7 years, we are not awaiting PlayStation VR 3. They have agreed that it was cool tech, and it didn't take off the way we thought it would. And we are going to focus on our core business model of games and providing service for PlayStation Plus, whatever they call it now.
I think there will be a different type of peripheral that's not PSVR. I think there's going to be some new tech that arises in the next 7 years. And in the way that we look at, in the way that we had PlayStation Move and like Xbox Connect and like, now we have PlayStation VR, I think there will be a different thing that will basically function at the same level of PSVR. That PSVR does now.
Would you go say a new gimmick? Is that what you're saying? A new gimmick?
Yeah, a new gimmick that they'll develop for, and like we're gonna have the thing of like, all right, who's gonna make games for this? We'll have that sort of thing, like a new gimmick that is of that level.
Okay. Real quick from the live chat on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where you could be right now. Z-Man says, I found an article. Jim Ryan is 52 years old as of 2020. However, his date of birth and birthday are not publicly available. We will update this section once the information is available. Thank you, Z-Man. Keep on it. Once we find out when his birthday is, we can finally start celebrating Jim Ryan. You know what I mean? Sending him gift baskets, an edible arrangement, maybe. Who doesn't love a good edible? He's
gonna be under 60. He's still gonna be young.
It'll be time to move on. They'll want fresh blood in there. Oh, what's the best feature of the redesigned PlayStation 5 in 7 years, Blessing?
The DualSense. All the DualSense features, I'll say.
So wait, have they the best for a redesigned PlayStation 5? You think they redesigned a DualSense?
Like a PS5 Pro?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The next question is there a PlayStation 5 Pro? Clearly there'll be a redesign. There's always a redesign. Do you think it's going to be all right, cool, and there's the Pro model of it?
That's a good question. I would say yeah. I think that's just the standard now, is that you're gonna create iterative versions of consoles because technology just keeps going and you find ways to make things more powerful. I'm sure they'll at the very least there's gonna be a PS5 that has way higher memory, like a 2 terabyte PS5.
Sure, different SKU.
Yeah. And if you're gonna put that out, you might as well put out a more powerful one, I guess.
I think we'll have not so much like a PS5 Slim, but like a smaller version, of what we have today, and that's gonna
as somebody who's prepping for his first trip since COVID, and now I'm fully vaccinated and everything else, and obviously a million COVID precautions. Like that's what I think of. Is I look over this fucking behemoth and I'm like, shit, putting you in my backpack is gonna suck. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's gonna be a redesign. Yeah. Yes, they're gonna shrink the footprint of this thing.
Yeah, and I think it'll be like really impressive of what it'll still be able to do, because they've talked about like how it kind of needs to be this big for what this console is trying to do. I think they'll be able to shrink it down and have it still be a kick-ass console. So,
okay, what do you think is going to be the big feature, Greg, for PS5 Pro?
I would think, well, it'll be visuals. Obviously, I don't know. You know that is not my bag in any way, shape, or form. But it'll be sharper and better, and yada yada yada. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if they put a new SSD in there or something that can still play old games, obviously. But if you have the new one, it makes things load even faster and turn the camera and yada yada all that jazz. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of crap that's always well above my pay grade on what that is. Especially, the PlayStation 4 Pro. I was so mystified when they announced it of like, who is this for or whatever. And then it slowly was just like, oh, well, it's just better. It's gonna run things better. All right, cool. I never, it was always comparing it to a PlayStation 4 for load times or sound or whatever the hell else it was. And then eventually, the performance modes and things like that.
7 years from now, do games look the way they looked during that Unreal Engine 5 reveal?
Certain
Where
ones
was
do.
that fake
Certain
game?
games do.
Which games?
I would think
Look
stuff
like that?
that's built. I think that you're looking at stuff like that.
You're talking about in the future. Not right now.
Oh, no,
sorry.
not right now. No.
I thought you meant certain games right now, dude. I was like, which game? Because I want to play it.
You're like, fuck. You like bring out a pad. You're like, name them. Write down what fucking game you're talking about. Yeah. No. In 7 years, certain games look like that for sure. And I think that's the stuff that's coming out of PlayStation Studios. That's the stuff that is. We are designing this from the ground up for this machine. It is exclusive, and then PC, obviously, yada yada yada. I would think then you have stuff like your Ubisofts and Activisions and EAs that are playing on everything, and they still look great, but they don't look like that. The demo from Unreal.
That's fair.
Let's see if I want to put anything else in here before we get out of here. Oh yeah, this is one we put. That I think is in there. Is PlayStation still winning? Is PlayStation still the top of the mountain in terms of the Xbox PlayStation race?
I don't think we'll be looking at any of them as winning anymore in 7 years.
All of the gamers will have lost.
Oh, jeez.
Exactly. We all lost.
We have too many subscription services. We all lost. That's the end of that.
Yeah. I think all the platforms will be. Oh, this is a bold statement, but I'm going to make it anyway. I think all the platforms will be successful to how we measure success for each platform. I think PlayStation 5 is going to sell off the chain. I think Xbox hardware is going to sell, but like their amount of active users are going to be up there like crazy, and it's going to be a very happy story for Xbox. And I think Nintendo is still going to be Nintendoing.
There's so many unknowns to answering the question. You know what I mean? Because I can see it either way. Because I can see that, like we talk about, Xbox actually turns that corner, and everything they have is it working the way it should be and actually going out there and actually being rad and dominating and yada yada. And I could also see they miss a step here or there, and PlayStation just doesn't deviate from the path they're on. In 7 years, it's going to be a way closer race. That's what I would think.
Okay,
that's what I would say. You know what I mean?
But see, that's where things get interesting, because when it is that close, when it becomes a closer race, and Xbox is doing something that feels like is way different, and it feels like they're trying to measure for active users and having Xbox on PC and streaming and all these different things. That's why I'm like, I don't think we'll be able to talk about these guys as winning anymore, because what's going to be the measuring? Like, are we going to talk about consoles sold? I think that becomes irrelevant when it is Xbox is not trying to sell consoles as hard as PlayStation is trying to sell consoles. If we're talking about active users, I think, like, one, is PlayStation ever going to reveal that? And I guess we'll get that from consoles. But like when we get to that point, right? Like the argument is going to be that, well, Xbox is just available more than PlayStation when you look at Xbox on streaming and you look at PC. So is that really a relevant stat? I
understand.
Yeah, like I wonder how that's going to be talked about. Like even if we talk about it in terms of exclusives, right? Like how much of that is going to be preference when it is cool. Yeah, I love my Naughty Dog games. I love my Insomniac games. There are plenty of people that prefer Bethesda games or games by Playground Studios or different games from different first party slates. Like it's such. I think it'll be such an impossible thing to measure that it'll be impossible to talk about outside of I prefer this, or this is the library I like more. But I think even those will be more evened out.
Has Uncharted come back in 7 years?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think the question more so is who develops it.
Yeah, 100%. I say that in 7 years, yes, Uncharted's already come back, or is coming back at that moment, I guess. And yeah, it's not Naughty Dog making it. I think somebody else is making it with a new character. And whether it's the continuation of the Uncharted 4 storyline or something completely different, I think depends on when it comes out. If it's super soon, it'll be a brand new character. If it's closer to the 7 years, I think it'll be the character
When you say Naughty Dog, when you say it's not Naughty Dog, do you think there's a possibility that Naughty Dog just starts a new studio that is like located elsewhere that sizes up like to a similar size as the current Naughty Dog and just works on something like Uncharted or something like Last of Us?
What do you mean Naughty Dog does that? You mean PlayStation opens another, like what we were talking about earlier, where Sony Bend was almost Naughty Dog 2.0, or how that San Diego studio
like PlayStation basically opens up a new branch from Naughty Dog to work on more Naughty Dog games.
I feel like they have too much to lose by doing that. I know they've gotten close, and I know those have been rumors, and I know the with the Sony Bend article we had from What Schreier and Bloomberg, right, where it was the whole they were worried about becoming Naughty Dog North or whatever, so they asked and finally got pulled off the project. I don't think you ever brand another studio Naughty Dog South, Naughty Dog West, and whatever, because I think the Naughty Dog name does carry so much cachet right now that it is a tightrope that you never want to water that down. You don't like I've been talking about before, right? You don't want to imagine a world where Naughty Dog misses. You especially don't want to imagine that Naughty Dog's core team, the Santa Monica studio, or Naughty Dog, never fucking misses. But then as soon as they open Naughty Dog, whatever it is, and they put out their first Uncharted and it gets 83 on Metacritic, like that, like Naughty Dog proper or prime, I guess, would be so fucking pissed off. I would assume ruining the name. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's why Kind of Funny we keep very mediocre across the board. So if there's ever a different Kind of Funny channel, we're just like, hey, it doesn't matter, it fits right in.
I think you see another Naughty Dog studio. Put that in.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. What would you call it?
Call it, like, depends on where it's at, obviously, but call it just Naughty Dog South or Naughty Dog
Cat.
Meow. Naughty Cat. Put it like Naughty Dog, pretty much city name, where it's in Austin, for example. Naughty Dog Austin, I think is what you call it.
Okay. Have we heard about the PlayStation 6 in 7 years, Blessing?
Yes.
Is it out?
Yes.
I agree too. I think you're talking about iterative consoles. I think this thing keeps moving quickly like that. I think the one thing that throws a wrench in my confidence of that is how slow PS5 rollout's been, how hard it's been because of pandemic, semiconductor shortage, etc. I know they're trying to fix that for the summer and try to get things back to a normal place, but I do wonder if you then have to start being like, well, fuck, like, we can't put out the next console because we're still selling people this console that they were excited to buy. And I know in how that all nets out, and then obviously a redesign or a PlayStation 5 Pro and all these different things to it. I think overall, though, yeah, tech's moving so quickly that you have to.
And they believe in generations too.
They do believe in generations.
They stated boldly, and I think they're going to continue to do that because I think it's just a big revenue opportunity, as well. Like, you can keep iterating on the PS5, or maybe just rebrand to just PlayStation, but you sell so much PlayStation 6s by just calling it a PlayStation 6 and branding it as this big jump that I would just keep doing it.
I think we'll have heard about it by now. I don't think we have it yet.
Okay. Do you think we've seen it, or do you think we've heard rumblings? Jason Schreier's son's been reporting
by this, because we're thinking May 2028, right?
Yeah.
I think by this time we have had the equivalent of whatever that talk about sending your ear pictures to PlayStation.
Cerny,
yeah, to Cerny. So I think we'll have been in that stage. I think PS6 later in the year.
So you think it's going to take basically a year? This next generation is going to be a year longer than than the last one.
I mean, yeah, by that time it'll be 8 years, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Again, with I think the COVID weirdness and how slow the rollout has been, or slower than they wanted it to be. I think that makes sense that it would last a year longer. Final question, Blessing, Adeoye Jr., before we go to an ad. David, a.k.a. Mizuki, writes in and says, has all of the Final Fantasy VII Remake series been released? Or even just a last episode announced?
No.
Not a chance in hell.
I think it'll be
not a chance in fucking hell.
In 7 years, we'll have had part 2, and that's it.
No.
I'm with Barrett.
No.
I'm with Barrett. That's it.
You have to remember back to when they announced this thing, and the director didn't even know he was a part of the fucking project until they announced it, bro. Like, they don't have their shit together when it comes to this Final Fantasy VII Remake shit, man. Like,
they got. And like, here's the thing,
and that's
right?
not even only took from like being lower on the game than you guys. Like, I'm just talking from like a production standpoint of like how they're managing the time for each of these parts. I think we'll have part 2 by the end of this 7-year cycle, and
you're crazy.
May have heard of part 3 at this point.
Here's my thing. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I believe, was announced in 2015. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that would be 5 years that took them to release that, huh?
Yep.
What do you guys say now?
What I was going to say,
16 right now.
What I was going to say, which I stand by, is that you have the building blocks, right? Like, you've created the engine, like you got all this shit down.
When will they have to update?
The hard work is done
to keep up with the current hardware and stuff like that, right? Like,
you think they care about graphics? You saw the walls in Final Fantasy VII Remake. They don't care.
Part two will launch. It'll be out in like 5 years. It'll still launch on last gen and current gen and stuff like that, because that's probably what they were originally developing for and stuff like that. And I
think you'll see part two. Oh, this is gonna be bold. I think you're gonna see part two in 2023.
Okay. All right, bud.
And then, the part three, I think, is where things get rough. Yeah, I'm gonna say by the end of these 7 years, yes, you're gonna see. Well, no, okay, it depends on how many parts there are gonna be. I think you're gonna
that's the other thing. Is it a trilogy, or how many parts does Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I think you're gonna by this time in 7 years, I think you will see two more parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So we would have gotten part 3 basically. Is it finished? I don't know. It just depends on how many parts it is.
Not finished at all, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what else isn't finished? Patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. You can go there, of course, to be part of the show with your questions, comments, concerns, everything under the daily video game sun. That is PlayStation. Kind of screwed it up. You can watch live like Adam Outspoken's is, Sam G is, and Chris R. And of course, you can get the show ad free. But guess what, Jack? You didn't go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. So let me tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Dr. Squatch. Real talk, the soap or body wash you're using, it's no good, okay? It's packed with harsh chemicals, synthetic detergents, and it's brutal on your skin. If you're ready to step up your game to soap that's natural, great for your skin, and doesn't smell like a middle school locker room, nobody wants that. Dr. Squatch is where it's at. Dr. Squatch is changing the way men approach hygiene with their natural personal care products that make you feel like a man and smell like a champion. All of Dr. Squatch's soaps are made in the USA using the finest ingredients nature has to offer. Dr. Squatch's soaps come in a huge range of natural, manly scents that are going to transform your shower. Whether it's their best-selling pine tar or scents like bay rum or cedar citrus, I have one that I've been using that's grapefruit IPA scented, and it's fantastic. If you really want to make it easy on yourself, you can also subscribe to Dr. Squatch, just like hundreds of thousands of other people have. Every month, fresh bars of Squatch show up to your door. It's super easy, and then you're staying clean. Right now, new customers can get 20% off on orders of $20 or more by going to drsquatch.com and enter code DSCKFGames. That's drsquatch.com, DRSQUATCH.com. Use the code DSCKFGAMES. DSCKFGAMES for 20% off on orders of $20 or more. Next up, I want to give a shout out to ExpressVPN. When you use the bathroom, you always close the door behind you, right? It's because you don't want random passerbyers looking in on you. Why would you let people do this when you go online? Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like going to the bathroom and not closing the door. You don't want to do that. Come on. Did you know that your internet service provider like Comcast or Verizon knows every single website you visit? It's kind of scary stuff. Definitely for me. And what's worse is they can sell this information to ad companies and tech giants who will use your data to target you. ExpressVPN puts a stop to this. It creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet so that your online activity can't be seen by anybody. I use ExpressVPN. It's fantastic. Why wouldn't you use it? It's just great. Great protection, great privacy. If you're like me and believe your online activity is your business, secure yourself by visiting expressvpn.com/kindafunny today. You can use the exclusive link expressvpn.com/kindafunny and you get an extra 3 months free. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny. And finally, shout out to Credit Karma. Credit Karma has always been there to help you make better financial decisions, and now they want to help even more. With the Credit Karma Money Spend account, you can be rewarded for good money habits. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases. When you use your Credit Karma Money debit card, you can win daily instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. You just pay with your debit card, and if you win, you'll be notified on the spot, and your instant Karma cash will be added back to your spend account. Fantastic stuff. Who doesn't love free money? I know I do. Right now, you can visit creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account and start winning instant Karma. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning instant Karma. creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Inc. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney.
Blessing.
Greg.
It's time for PlayStation updates.
Hell yeah. Let's start off with what is PlayStation doing at Summer Games Fest?
I can hear you, but I'm getting a sweatshirt. I'm chilly.
Okay, do your thing. Do
you need a sweatshirt?
No, I'm wearing a jacket, man. I'm all warm here. If anything, I might take this thing off. Yeah, it's available right now on kindoffunny.com/store. Last week, it was confirmed that PlayStation is part of Summer Games Fest. Jeff Keighley tweeted out an image that had all of the logos of all the companies that were involved, that are going to be involved in the summer showcase. I'm going to pull from Robert Ramsey at Push Square, who writes this. PlayStation is an official partner of this year's Summer Games Fest. The event has confirmed. Organizer and host Jeff Keighley broke the news that Summer Game Fest 2021 will begin on June 10th with a premiere showcase promising news and announcements. While companies like PlayStation, Ubisoft, and Capcom are down as partners, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll have huge news to share. It's probably far more realistic to expect, say, a new Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart trailer from Sony rather than the reveal of a brand new PlayStation 5 game. And the question I asked to that is that really all we can expect? Greg, do you think that we might get more than just a Ratchet & Clank reveal at Summer Games Fest? Or do you think
yes, but not much more? Okay. I think yes, but not much more. I think the Ratchet & Clank for sure will be, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because what he said, this is for the 10th, right?
Yes, the kickoff premiere, which is a new event that I believe Jeff Keighley is adding.
Yeah, he did a whole article, or I forget who interviewed him about it, but
Video
yeah,
Games Chronicle.
Yeah. Is that what you're reading from?
Or maybe eventually.
You said it so confidently. Like, oh, fuck. Is this from the article?
I definitely read it last week for KFGD, but I forget who did it.
It's that weird thing where if I'm a betting man, yes, it is just more Ratchet and Clank. However, I think it could be, yes, it's just more Ratchet and Clank. And guess what? By watching this, we're giving away a code so you can get one of the special armors in Ratchet and Clank, or here's a mode or a feature they held back that you didn't know about, but we're announcing tonight because it'll be the 10th, so the next day is Ratchet and Clank. So get excited to play the game, or yada yada yada. I would think it's that, but then I do see PlayStation having something. Maybe a smaller, indie that's part of now PlayStation Studios, something to tease there. Maybe tease something like Returnal, not DLC, but Returnal. Hey, we've heard you and we're putting the save thing out. Make some kind of announcement on that scale there that matters to the hardcore gamer. Something you put on the blog that would get a little bit of traction, but you put into this to follow up on the blog for more details. But by no means do I expect there to be something outrageous and huge here.
Yeah, I think that's my thing is PlayStation as a company doesn't strike me as positioning something huge, like a huge PlayStation State of Play as part of Summer Games Fest. Like they've done such a they've consistently been separating themselves from an E3, and I think that's just because they don't want to say their bigger things there. I don't think they want to connect any of their bigger announcements to like a Summer Games event or organization like this. But my thing is, I do think that there will be a PlayStation event during the summer, like a sizable one, maybe later in the summer after E3's done, like maybe in a July 100%. Or an August, where they lay out what the fall looks like, because we still have more questions regarding Horizon Forbidden West and a lot of questions regarding God of War Ragnarok. And I think you would want to still talk about those, right? You still have Deathloop coming in the fall, and you still have games like Stray and plenty of other PlayStation games that they've talked about in their presentations before that I think would fit in some kind of summer showcase or state of play. And I don't know if that they would connect that to a Summer Games Fest, or maybe this gets interesting because actually now that I think about it, right? Like they would show up at a opening night live, right? They would show up and they would put out a trailer there, and so I think that would count as a hey, PlayStation is going to be part of Summer Games Fest, which would I think make it so that Jeff Keighley feels okay putting their logo in there, right? And so like.
If Jeff, I love Jeff, and I have no inside information from it at all. But if Jeff had a Horizon Zero Dawn trailer for Summer Game Fest, he would be saying, "I have a Horizon Forbidden West trailer for Games Fest," or he would be saying a huge world premiere from PlayStation. And there's still plenty of time for him to get there and do that. And again, to this thing is, I think the closer we get to it, the more clarity there will be of. And a special look at Ratchet & Clank, a special look from PlayStation Studios at a AAA game, you're going to get something like that. Mm-hmm. I think, but yeah, the whole point of this is that PlayStation wouldn't play their cards here, right? Because they're clearly going to have to do a state of play come July. I would think July.
My thing also is that and maybe I should look up the tweet again, because the logos I assumed was just Summer Games Fest period. I don't think that was like the June 10th kickoff event. Gotcha. Solely. And so with that idea in mind, I could see PlayStation's logo being there because they're going to show up later.
They're going to do a Summer Game Fest or a Summer Game Fest, a showcase down the State of Play, and then Summer Game Fest will be around that, obviously.
Yeah, and so maybe that's it. But yeah, with that said, I could see. I guess timing is the thing, right? Like at this kickoff event, I don't expect anything more than Ratchet and Clank. Maybe like Solar Ash, because I think that's supposed to come out in June, and that's somewhat PlayStation connected. But I don't. I think what's more likely the case is that later in the summer we see something from PlayStation.
Greg, say who better? Yeah.
The Last of Us Part 2 got a PS5 patch.
Woo!
But will we see more? They put this up on the PlayStation blog last week. One of the most requested items from our community has been to release a PlayStation 5 performance patch for The Last of Us Part 2. Well, today is the day, and you can download the free patch right now. Once patch 1.8 for The Last of Us Part 2 is installed for your PS5, you'll find a toggle in the display options that allows you to choose between a frame rate target of 30 FPS or 60 FPS. This allows you to choose your preferred frame rate to complement the rest of the enhancements that are part of the PlayStation 5 backward compatibility with PS4 games, such as an enhanced resolution, faster load times, and more. The team has been digging into the PS5 hardware and the possibilities and unlocks since launch last year, and we're excited about what the future holds. This patch is just the first step of working on the PS5. We'll let you know when we've got more news to share. So one, I think it's super awesome that they're putting out, or that they have put out this patch, because I know a lot of people love the 60 FPS boost that we get for PS4 games on current gen, and I'm still waiting for them to do it with Bloodborne, because dear Lord, do we need it. My question to you, Greg, is they close off this PlayStation blog post by saying this patch is just the first step of working on the PlayStation 5. And this is from Naughty Dog directly, right? Like this article is written by Arne Meyer, the director of communications at Naughty Dog. What does that mean? Do you think we're going to get more updates that's boosting more of the technical elements of Last of Us Part 2? Do you think this might be alluding to what could be a possible remaster?
I think it means maybe some technical upgrades with some of their other titles. Maybe like it would be dope to have Uncharted, Lost Legacy, or 4. Maybe get some PS5 updates, but also like I think it might just be a general statement of like, hey, now that we're done with the Last of Us Part 2, which was like our last like PS4 title, like this is our first step to fully integrate into this hardware and to start fully developing and on our next title that will be for PS5.
Yeah, I read of it. I mean, like the team has been digging into the PS5 hardware and the possibilities it unlocks since launch last year, and we're excited about what the future holds. This patch is just the first step of working on the PlayStation 5. We'll let you know when we've got more news to share. I think it's a generalized. Naughty Dog is moving to the PlayStation 5, and this is what we're gonna, we're getting our hands on the actual tech, working from it. In true Last of Us fashion, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibilities that they'll do more update patches, whatever to this, do more whatever they can do with the PlayStation 5, right? Bring in the DualSense a bit more, do a whole bunch of different haptics and things like that, right? I could see all that happening. Let alone the fact that obviously Factions continues to be worked on from what we know, so they're clearly working on something there and working with that too. Let alone then, what they'll do for their next game.
Craig, I got another question for you.
Okay.
Is Deathloop the big PlayStation exclusive this fall? I asked this because last week we got a preview, or we got previews from plenty of different outlets. Kind of Funny did preview on Kind of Funny Gamescast, and everybody was talking about how dope Deathloop is. I'm going to pull from Martin Robinson at Eurogamer, who writes about how Deathloop looks like more than Dishonored with guns. It's Arcane does Hitman. He writes this: it's a delicious irony that one of PlayStation 5's most exciting exclusive prospects this year comes from some of the newest members of the extended Xbox Game Studios family. But let's not let that quirk of timing obscure the real story here. Arcane Studios, creators of some of the finest immersive sim experiences in its brace of Dishonored games, in 2017's superlative, if somewhat underappreciated Prey, is back with an all-new game that funnels some of that expertise into a tightly wound time loop and layers plenty more on top besides. There's no doubting that first and foremost, this is an arcane joint, an immersive sim swimming in style and full of all sorts of murderous possibilities. It goes on, and I definitely encourage people to go check out that Eurogamer preview, because they actually wrote, Martin Robinson was really writing in that preview. He was writing some poetry in there. Shout out to Martin Robinson.
Martin's talented, man. Great guy.
Doing his thing. But Greg, we talked about Deathloop during our Gamescast preview, had a big old discussion. I think all of us are super excited for Deathloop.
Where did we talk about that?
Kind of Funny Gamescast that people can get on youtube.com. So it's Kind of Funny Games and on podcast services around the globe. My question for you, Greg, is Deathloop going to be the biggest PlayStation release this fall? Like, is it the exclusive?
I feel like we'll know by the end of July. I think July, you have to do, like you're talking about, you got to do State of Play, and you got to do it about Horizon if Horizon's coming out this year. And I think that's the big idea. If Horizon Forbidden West is this year, as they've said it is, then it'll be that versus Deathloop to decide what the biggest PlayStation 5 exclusive is this fall. However, do we really think Horizon's coming? I don't know. I can't say at this point. I think it makes perfect sense for the way they're marketing right now. Of like, no, it's all about Ratchet. Let's get Ratchet out. Let's get past Ratchet, and then we'll talk about what's going on with Horizon. But it's been so quiet about Horizon. And it's like, again, like that would be the plan that, okay, cool. But when you talk about COVID, you talk about work from home, you talk about, how the video game industry's changed. Has that actually shaken out that way? I don't know. But I do think that Deathloop sounds fucking phenomenal. Like watching that, we sent other people to do I sent other people to do the Gamescast preview. So I got to just listen in and ask questions and stuff. And for everything I saw and everything you guys talked about, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to play this game.
Yeah, it looks incredible. Like and Barrett was there for the preview too. Like, I think by the time all of us finished watching it, we're all just like, damn, like the Arcane is really doing their thing. Like, this is going to be, I assume this is going to be their breakout hit, I think, because not only does it carry the dope ass gameplay from Dishonored and all the systems there, but it also is set in a setting that I think is just going to be way more palpable for people and something that is easier for people to get into. And also it's just a fascinating concept in terms of how they're making the game and designing the game, because the whole thing is meant to be this big murder puzzle that you're trying to put together and find the pieces of and figure out and solve. And I think there's so much there. I think to the question of, is this the PlayStation exclusive this fall? Like for right now, like, yeah, I think it's going to be the one. Horizon is a question mark, and once we get there, we'll get there. I guess the follow up question for that would be, and I'll ask this to you, Greg, do you think there's a surprise game that could come through this fall?
Of course.
And release, like last year we got Spider-Man Miles Morales that was announced in June and came out in the fall. Do you think PlayStation has that up their sleeve?
I mean, again, with the power of PlayStation Studios, quite possibly they do. Yes. I think that's 100% possible, especially as you see something like Returnal, right? That, we all gobbled up and love so much, and is still, my front runner for game of the year. I think you could easily have a partnership like that lined up. We last week we were talking about the Herman Hulse and Jim Wright story. Sorry, as I burped in the middle of it, about how they have 25 games up their sleeve right now that are being worked on for PlayStation Studios. Like, when you put those out, who knows? But it is that idea that you're going to be putting them out, and you need to be putting them out. And what is that? When do you start talking about those, and when do you actually deliver on them? You figure it could be any time. Now, of course, Apple of the eye kind of thing. No, sorry, eye of the beholder, right? In terms of Apple of the eye is like fucking having a kid. Eye of the beholder on if you think a AA PlayStation Studios game can compete to be the big game of the fall.
I mean, you got Kena Bridge of Spirits, right? Which looks super promising. That's coming out, and I think August.
I mean, we know nothing about it, and so I'm not saying it's that, but like, isn't Jet the Far Shore? That was the one they announced and showed that thing for forever ago. That was part of that PlayStation showcase. Yeah, they're still saying 2021 on that. So I mean, like, that could be something cool. I don't know if it's going to be good, but I'm just saying, like, it's in the running for, hey, there's stuff we don't know a lot about. Back for Blood. Don't forget Back for Blood. Back for Blood.
Oh yeah, Back for Blood is out there too.
Ghostwire Tokyo ain't going to be the shit. Don't worry about it.
You don't think so?
I think it looks really cool, and I'm really interested to play it. I don't think it's going to be the big game, right? You're talking about, is it going to be the big game of the fall? Ghostwire won't be now.
Yeah. I'm looking through. Oh man, I'm looking through a list of games from Inverse that they have of PlayStation games that are confirmed for this year. And Stray is another one's coming out for October 2021. And one I didn't realize that got pushed to October. But then also, like, I don't put that necessarily in like the biggest game releases conversation. But like, in terms of this fall or the rest of this year for PlayStation, like, shit is still looking pretty exciting. Like, there's also Goodbye Volcano High. And yeah, like you said, Jet the Far Shore, I think is still just slated for 2021. But yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe like one more big game that's slated for the fall. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what that would be. Maybe Insomniac has another one they can just pull out of nowhere.
And another one.
And another one. It keeps going. Or maybe it is. God, I would hope so. And this is just me trying to speak shit into existence. That's for sure not going to happen. Maybe Last of Us Factions could be ready for this fall.
Sure.
Who knows?
Sure.
Who knows? Like Ghost of Tsushima Legends came out of nowhere when it was pushed in an update last fall. And so I hope we see something like that. But either way, I'm still excited for this fall with PlayStation. Deathloop, Kingdom Bridge of Spirits, and a possible Horizon, I think, is making things look pretty exciting.
PlayStation knows me too well after 14 years of coverage and emails where I say, how old is Jim Ryan? That's it. That's the question. And they respond, lol, what is this for? They won't just tell me, like, what are you doing? I won't just say how old this man is.
They're keeping it a secret, because why wouldn't you just answer that question? What's the worst thing we could do with knowing Jim Ryan's age?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Why are they withholding this
That's how gun shy I've made PlayStation through 14 years of coverage, that they're like, we refuse to answer this incredibly basic question until you tell us what you plan to do with this information. We don't need you tweeting shoo about it in the middle of the day or some crap.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, last one for PlayStation updates. It seems like another exclusive Final Fantasy game is coming to PlayStation. This was reported this morning by the one, the only Imran Khan at Fanbyte. He talked about how Square Enix is about to announce a new Final Fantasy game, and it seems like it's a Souls-like. There's a new Final Fantasy rumor. The rumor states that Square Enix is working with Team Ninja, Koei Tecmo's in-house development team behind games like Ninja Gaiden, Nioh, and perhaps most relevantly, the latest entry in the Final Fantasy fighting game series, Dissidia NT. The posted rumors go on further by assigning the game a genre, something akin to Nioh or the Souls games, and suggesting it takes place somewhere in or adjacent to the world of the first Final Fantasy game on the NES. Our sources have corroborated this rumor and suggest the name of the game is Final Fantasy Origin. The game, which appears to be exclusive to PlayStation 5, with a PC release further down the road. It also looks like it's about to be announced during E3. Exciting stuff, and like, I don't know, it just seems super wild, right? Like, this is one that I'm super excited about if this turns out to be the case, because one, I'm a recent fan. Yeah, like, I've become a recent fan of Final Fantasy with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and also I'm a recent fan of Souls games with Bloodborne and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. So this is very up my alley. But yeah, it comes back to the conversation I think we've had a few times now in terms of PlayStation and exclusives and them continuing to go for it and make deals and all that.
Yeah, obviously, I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, and so in Souls games, hit or miss. So it's not a game that, like, from a headline, I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for. I'm more excited to see people get hyped for it, and I love the fact that it's unexpected and nobody knows what it's going to be. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Greg, now it's time for PlayStation Picks. This is where we highlight a few cool looking games coming to PSN this week. We got a lot of big ones. Biomutant is coming to PS4 Tuesday, May 25th. Final Fantasy 14 is coming to PS5 Tuesday, May 25th. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster is coming to PS4 Tuesday, May 25th. Capcom Arcade Stadium is coming to PS4 Tuesday, May 25th. Earth Defense Force World Brothers is coming to PS4 Thursday, May 27th. And then Super Bomberman R Online is coming to PS4
Ooh, can't wait for Super Bomberman R.
Oh my god, I can't wait for it. That was the Stadia exclusive.
Oh man, it sucks to see Stadia lose another one,
Yeah, rest in peace. And that's coming May 27th. In terms of the picks themselves, I'm going to start off with a game called Beautiful Desolation. That's coming to PS4 Friday, May 28th. Beautiful Desolation is an isometric adventure game set in the distant future. Explore a post-apocalyptic landscape, solve puzzles, meet new friends, and make powerful enemies, mediate conflicts, and fight for your life as you unravel the secrets of the world around you. This is one that I picked specifically because the art style looks fantastic. I don't know if this necessarily speaks to either of us, Greg. It's very much like a strategy isometric game, but
yeah, I really like the art style. It's not a game I'd actually play, but like I do really dig the art style and what they're doing here. Like, it's what you said.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And then we got Song of Horror, which is coming to PS4 Friday, May 28th. A third-person fixed camera survival horror adventure. Fear the presence, a mysterious entity you cannot fight. Stay alert, hide, breathe slowly. Explore cursed places where unseen spirits and lost souls linger in a true horror story for the ages. If you're a big fan of horror games, this is another one. I think this is one that's been out on other platforms like PC for a little bit. When I looked up the game, I saw Let's Plays from like folks like Markiplier and other YouTubers, and so it seems like it's gonna be one of those ones. If you're interested in that, it looks cool. It reminds me almost of like a Layers of Fear-ish kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, it's got a 74 right now on the PC version on Metacritic.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, when I watched the trailer that you're showing here the other day when they emailed me about it and asked for a code. So, but I like horror games. I like jumping in and seeing what's up.
You about to play it?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on it. Until you said it, I forgot all about it. So I just Googled and I still don't have my code in yet. But yeah, Game Informer gave the PC version an 80. So yeah,
there you go. I mean, yeah, I'm not. See, I get weird when these games don't release in October. Because I never want to play a horror game unless it's like a big one, like a Resident Evil or something. I don't want to play, like, I don't feel compelled to play a game like this unless we are in the greatest month of the year, which is October.
Oh, well, yeah. Again, I'm glad you agree with me. Remember, I'm the king of Halloween.
Yeah.
I timed out my fucking firstborn to pop during the Halloween time. So it can be, first off, not only get there.
To dedicate it to Blessing. That's awesome.
No, to celebrate with me, the king of Halloween, to celebrate with me.
Oh,
it sounds like you're going to be like gone there for a few weeks on Halloween. Were you really just trying to get the month off because you didn't want to be seen in public while I took all the glory during the fabulous month?
Well, I was thinking, taking the month off. That way I can make sure I'm, getting the right costumes for the child because we're going to need a lot of matching costumes because we're going to be celebrating Halloween all the time here, It's a big part of it. If you want, I'll make sure even when episodes I'm off, me and my child will pop in a new costume if you want, if that's what you're looking for.
I mean, if you guys are down, that'd mean so much to me because of how much I love Halloween.
Yeah. All hail Blessing.
Oh, it's been a heartful episode of the PSVR right now. We usually do What You've Been Playing, Blessing, but we have talked so long about the PS5 Time Capsule. I want to use this just to tease that tomorrow on Gamescast, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. It's an episode where we were going to go through a whole bunch of different stuff. Obviously, Snowbike Mike and a bunch of other people have been playing Biomutant. And then you and I have both been playing both Knockout City and Aerial Knights Never Yield. I'm excited about talking about those tomorrow as well. Anything else you've been talking about you want to talk about tomorrow?
I beat Mass Effect 1. I can talk about that tomorrow.
Ooh, excellent.
Yeah.
So if you want our impressions of what we've been playing, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out the next Kind of Funny Games cast, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, but more importantly, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, where you can write in with your questions about those games for us. And of course, you can watch us record the show live tomorrow with no ads and the post show. This was filled with coffee in the beginning, and let me tell you, it isn't anymore. It's all inside me, making me stronger than ever. Speaking of post shows, Blessing, would you like to go do one right now for this show?
Sure, why not?
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, each and every week, Blessing and I come together to nerd out about all things PlayStation. You can head to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames to watch us record the show live, to get the show ad-free, and of course, just to enjoy it and say, hey, you guys are doing a good job. But if you got no bucks tossed our way, it's no big deal. youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week. They got ads, they got no post show, but it's still supporting us, and we can't thank you enough for that. If you could, please click the like, subscribe, shares, the bells, tell your friends, leave a review, do all that jazz. If that wasn't enough, next week, ladies and gentlemen, in America, it's Memorial Day, which means we get Monday off. And as you know, Kind of Funny tries to be a better company, even though sometimes we forget about holidays. We didn't forget about this one. So we're taking Monday off, which means next week's PS I Love You XOXO is actually going to finally be the Disco Elysium spoiler cast with Blessing Adeoye Jr. and a team of experts. Can you confirm who your experts are for this?
Yes, we got Lucy James, we got Simon Cardy, and we got Ian Hink from from a company.
Is it Easy Allies or Min-Max? Nobody knows. One of them. You
I'm
Google.
looking it up.
So if you have questions, ladies and gentlemen,
Easy Allies.
If you have questions, if you have reviews, if you have anything about Disco Elysium, you should write into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames incredibly fast, because I think they're recording this on Tuesday, right?
Tomorrow.
Wednesday?
We're literally recording
Tuesday.
this tomorrow.
So you have a very small window to get. I had already said get your Disco Elysium stuff in. Get more Disco Elysium stuff in for that special PS I Love You XOXO that'll post next week. And then back to regular scheduled programming after that. So yeah, that's fun. We'll enjoy that. We have a post show to do. But until next time, no, it's been our pleasure to serve you.